the technological template of Konoha. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction, so please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter, and if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 1, The Young Ninja, A Determination to Die. In the dense, dark forest, the explosions of explosive tags echoed one after another, orange-red flames bursting forth and occasional flashes of lightning flashing across the forest. A howling wind swept through the trees. A young Konoha ninja, carrying 4 pouches of weapons, leaped from tree to tree, his katana slicing through taut steel wires and ropes. When danger struck, he would turn and unleash a low-level lightning release or throw a few kunai with explosive tags to alleviate the threat behind him before continuing his escape. Dozens of meters behind the young Konoha ninja, Sand Ninja leaped and ran, relentlessly pursuing him, as if determined to kill him. Unfortunately, as the steel wires and ropes snapped, arrows and kunai rained down from the dense canopy, some with ignited explosive tags, while others severed hidden ropes and wires, triggering more traps and unleashing even more arrows and kunai from multiple directions. The pursuing Sand Ninja had no choice but to desperately chase and dodge the constant barrage of arrows, kunai, falling logs, and trees snapped by explosive tags, while simultaneously using earth release and wind release ninjutsu for defense. The numerous traps significantly slowed the pursuit. Constantly, giant logs suspended by ropes would suddenly burst from concealment, or trees would be blown apart and block their path. Several ignited explosive tags were embedded in these logs and trees, repeatedly deflecting their ninjutsu attacks and forcing them to halt their pursuit to avoid the traps and explosions. If it weren't for the sheer number and density of traps and mechanisms, along with the numerous explosive tags mixed in, they would have already caught up with the Konoha boy, who was merely a Jinan, and brutally killed him. Unfortunately, these traps not only prevented them from catching the young ninja, but also resulted in 7 or 8 casualties, even though their opponent was just a Konoha Jinan. This dense forest was meticulously laid with numerous traps, including a large number of explosive tags, making them extremely hesitant to act. This was a pre-planned battle, a carefully orchestrated fight between one person and 30. Damn it, to be reduced to this state by a mere Jinan, behind the pursuing Sand Ninja, a middle-aged Sand Junin, having just given his severed left arm a quick fix, gritted his teeth and continued the chase. A team of 30, including 3 Junin and 12 Chunin, had suffered 7 or 8 casualties because of a mere Jinan brat, and he himself had lost an arm to an explosive tag. The traps here were simply too numerous and too dangerous. If they hadn't already confirmed that the other side truly knew too much information about Tsunagakure, enough to influence the balance of the war, why would they risk their lives chasing into this meticulously laid trap? Why would they relentlessly pursue this Konoha boy after witnessing so many dangerous traps, without even checking them? Finally, under a large, lush tree, the boy stopped and turned to form hand seals. Wind release, impact wind. Without the obstruction of giant trees and tree traps, the Tsunagakure ninja finally seized the opportunity. A high-pressure column of wind swiftly blew from the mouth of a Tsunagakure Chunin, striking the boy's chest before he could complete the hand seals. Bang! With a muffled thud, the boy was slammed against the large tree behind him by the powerful wind column. His chest caved in, a bloody mess, and a mouthful of blood gushed from his mouth. In the end, is this it? The words rang out in broken sentences. The boy weakly looked at the bloody, mangled wound on his chest. The intense pain and the collapsed chest made Yu Guanghan realize that almost half of his sternum was broken, the broken bones deeply embedded in his internal organs, which were also shattered. The boy knew he wouldn't survive. This is the end. On the large tree ahead, more than 20 Sand Ninja jumped down, their eyes filled with boundless rage as they looked at the severely injured boy, but they didn't rush to kill him. Ignoring the more than 20 Sand Ninja who jumped down from the tree, Yu Guanghan recalled his life after being transmigrated. Amidst the intense pain and impending death, his past after transmigration and his life before transmigration flashed through his mind like a slideshow, bringing a genuine, satisfied smile to Yu Guanghan's lips. He had transmigrated after death, born into an ordinary Chunin couple in the Yu Guang clan, and named Yu Guanghan. Knowing he was in the world of Naruto, Yu Guanghan, Driven by lofty ambitions and a sense of impending crisis, and relying on his transmigrator's foresight and maturity, trained relentlessly every day. He honed his swordsmanship, improved his physical strength, and refined his chakra, often training until he was exhausted and covered in wounds, hoping to have a cheat-like advantage like in the novel. However, each time he returned home exhausted after training, the loving care of his father and the tender concern of his mother, who gently bandaged his wounds, comforted him and patiently reminded him not to train too hard, to spend more time with other children, and that it didn't matter if he didn't become a ninja. Many in his clan hadn't become ninjas either. This rekindled Yu Guangyan's motivation. Although he lacked power and influence, he came from a very happy family. Although his talent was poor, even with relentless training and chakra refinement, at the age of 12 he still only possessed the taijutsu skills and chakra reserves of a Jinan. His efforts remained mediocre, and the so-called golden finger he had hoped for never materialized. However, whenever he returned home to be with his parents, Yu Guangyan felt that all the hard training was worthwhile, and he was full of energy every day. Even without a golden finger, he could still be a hard-working person. Sadly, this beautiful family was destroyed by the outbreak of war with the Sand Village. In the 45th year of Konoha, the second year of the war, his kind father and gentle mother both died on the battlefield. A single death notice left him alone in this happy family. He was filled with despair and utterly devoid of interest in life. That was the first time since he began training that he had become despondent, the first time he hadn't trained. After a month of despair, he resolutely applied to the village to go to the battlefield. He sold everything of value in his home, including his house, and used all his money to buy a large number of explosive tags, kunai, and even hunter's iron arrows and longbows. Then, carrying a katana and with a death wish, he arrived at the battlefield and began to meticulously plan. As a transmigrator who had been a big fan of Naruto in his previous life, Gekkoha naturally knew why the third Kazekage had disappeared and also knew some important information about the Sand Village during the Third Shinobi World War. During an escort mission, he quietly left the group, spent half a month selecting this location, carefully set up traps, and after a month of waiting, finally successfully attracted a 30-man Sand Village squad that relentlessly pursued him. Although the Sand Village ninja wouldn't easily believe his younger self, after he revealed some important information about the Kazekage and the Sand Village in the story, they had no choice but to believe him, and in order to prevent the information from being leaked, they hunted him down with all their might. Ha ha ha, cough 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 cough. Finally, thinking of the results of his meticulously planned scheme, Moonlight Tarn burst into hearty laughter, his laughter interspersed with violent coughing, mouthfuls of blood and froth mixed with fragments of internal organs gushing from his mouth. It was only thanks to the tenacity he had cultivated through relentless training that Moonlight Han remained conscious. Kid, you're about to die, and you can still laugh. We'll pry everything you know out of you. Looking at the laughing Moonlight Han, a sand ninja clenched his fists and spoke coldly. The surrounding sand ninja all gritted their teeth, staring at the heavily wounded, dying boy on the ground. If they hadn't wanted to extract information about how he knew crucial information about Tsunagakure, they would have already exacted their revenge and tortured him to death, even though the boy's injuries were now certain of his demise. Ha ha ha, cough cough. Looking at the hateful expressions on the faces of the sand ninja before him, Yu Guanghan laughed again. The laughter aggravated his wounds, causing him to cough violently, spitting out blood mixed with fragments of internal organs. This made the surrounding sand ninjas unable to bear it any longer, and they all approached Yu Guanghan. Because I have no intention to go back alive. This is the grave I've chosen for myself. I can still enjoy your expressions of despair. After the laughter subsided, looking at the sand ninjas getting closer and closer, Yu Guanghan spoke haltingly. Although he was doomed, Yu Guanghan didn't care. As he spoke, he laboriously pulled open his shirt, revealing hundreds of explosive tags covering his chest. A sizzling sound rang out. The explosive tags had been ignited. At the same time, the sizzling sound of igniting explosive tags also echoed from the boy's hands, feet, and clothes. At the same time, Yu Guanghan loosened his grip, and a blackish-green steel wire was swiftly pulled from his hand. A huge boulder suddenly fell from the tree behind him, its surface adorned with numerous steel wires connecting to the canopy of the large tree behind him, extending outwards and connecting almost all the surrounding trees. Now, with the boulder's fall, planks suspended by blackish-green steel wires also fell from the surrounding trees, each plank covered with several newly ignited explosive tags. Damn it! Seeing the hundreds of ignited explosive tags on the boy's chest, and the equally ignited explosive tags on the planks surrounding them, the sand ninja who had gathered around were instantly enraged. They rushed outwards as fast as they could, or desperately used defensive ninjutsu. Too late, too bad I can't see it. Watching the sand ninjas' bloodshot eyes and their desperate struggle for survival, Yu Guang's had slumped weakly, and the world before him finally went completely dark. Technology template system loaded successfully. Chapter 2, The Belated Cheat Code, Tech Template. Technology template system loaded successfully, a large amount of external heat energy detected, absorbable, energy collection template automatically activated, activation rate, 50%, 100%, loading, Terminator, T-800 robot template, loading failed, cause detected, carrier part missing, loading scheme modified, change loading item, loading, bloodshot, blood nanorbit template, loading successful, blood nanorbit template calculation in progress, calculation successful, carrier repair in progress, carrier repair complete, reloading T-800 robot template, loading successful, calculation successful, loading T-800 accompanying weapon template. SPAS 12 shotgun template loaded successfully. Minimi light machine gun template loaded successfully. Darkness fell in his eyes, his consciousness began to dissipate, and in his fading consciousness, a cold electronic voice began to echo in Moonlight Hand's already dark sea of consciousness. In the dark forest, amidst the explosions of explosive tags covering his body and those plastered on the wooden planks around him, Yu Guanghong's body was instantly torn to pieces and pulverized. The flames, seemingly endless, devoured everything around him, illuminating the night sky. No, his piercing screams and cries of despair were drowned out by the continuous explosions. The defensive ninjutsu the sand ninja had just used was mercilessly torn apart by the intense explosions. The 20-odd sand ninja pursuing Yu Guanghan were instantly engulfed and ripped apart by the flames of the exploding explosive tags. Shards of wood flew everywhere, carrying flames that mercilessly pierced every corner of the forest. Amidst the continuous explosions, Yu Guanghan's shattered, burning flesh suddenly changed, turning blackish gray. The flames on it instantly extinguished, transforming into pure heat energy absorbed by his shattered flesh. Then, the flesh and blood rose like dust, absorbing the flames it touched, gathering back to the spot where Moonlight Han had fallen, solidifying into his likeness. The flames from the exploding detonators continued to engulf everything around them, but, when these flames touched Moonlight Han's body, they were all converted into pure heat energy and absorbed by his body, unable to harm him in the slightest. Moonlight Han's fingers twitched unconsciously. Boom! Violent explosions echoed continuously throughout the forest, shaking the earth. The flames and hurricanes from the explosions tore everything in the forest apart, igniting large swathes of forest and turning the night sky a fiery red, a hellish inferno. What happened over there? Could it be a large-scale battle? Why didn't we get advance warning? Could it be an unknown secret operation encountering the enemy at the Konoha forward camp 60 miles away and the Sunagakure forward camp 100 miles away? The Night Watch ninjas stared in astonishment at the western sky ablaze with firelight. They had received no word of a large-scale battle tonight, not even the minimum number of explosive tags or a skirmish involving dozens of people. They hurriedly woke their comrades, and then dozens of ninjas from both forward camps rushed out, sprinting towards the direction of the fire. Loading complete. No independent consciousness detected. Awakening program initiated. Awakening in progress. Awakening successful. In the pitch-black sea of consciousness, the cold electronic voice continued to echo. As the electronic voice faded, a glimmer of light appeared in the dim sea of consciousness, growing brighter and brighter. Amidst the ongoing explosions, Moonlight Han silently propped himself up, gazing blankly at the still raging explosions and the flames sweeping towards him. These flames engulfed his body without causing harm, instead warming him and filling him with power. Silence. Moonlight Han knew that everything before his death wasn't a fantasy, because he had truly done it. The voice remaining in whose consciousness explained why he had been resurrected. His cheat ability had arrived. However, this cheat ability had come far too late. If it had arrived a few years earlier, he could have gone to the battlefield with his parents, perhaps even averting tragedy, and he would still have a happy family. Slowly rising, looking at the shattered corpses of the sand ninja, Moonlight Han paused again, then turned and disappeared into the flames. Since he hadn't died, his revenge wasn't over. But before that, he needed to prepare. and he needed to understand his cheat ability. Yu Guanghan didn't know which sand ninja had killed his parents, nor what mission they had been on before their deaths. But he knew that the war had killed them. Is the battle over? Who won? Half an hour later, more than 40 Konoha ninja arrived at the still-burning forest, but apart from the sound of flames, there was no other movement. Captain, we haven't found anyone inside. It seems the battle is over. A Byakugan ninja, his eyes bulging with veins, carefully observed the still-burning forest and spoke to the leading elite Jonin. Quickly investigate the situation inside. Everyone be careful. This is the middle of the battle line. The sand ninja must have noticed the commotion here. They'll probably arrive soon. The leading Konoha elite Jonin nodded, gave the order, and rushed into the still-burning forest. Fortunately, it was the rainy season. The forest was damp, and a light rain was falling. The fire had extinguished considerably and was no longer as fierce as it had been at the beginning. 30 minutes later, ninjas from the Sand Village's forward camp, over 100 kilometers away, arrived at the scene. There were about 50 of them, and they too began investigating. Unfortunately, the Konoha ninjas had already finished their investigation and left. This group, however, had very somber expressions. On their way there, they had discovered numerous triggered traps, traces of a Sand Village squad of about 30 members pursuing them, and some bloodstains, suggesting they were chasing someone. Remembering the earlier explosion, everyone felt a heavy weight in their hearts. Captain, it was an explosion caused by a large number of explosive tags. The explosion ignited this forest, and we found a lot of wire, rope, and kunai inside. More than 10 minutes later, a sand ninja said grief-strickenly to the leading elite Jonin, there were even more and denser traps set inside. The team of about 30 of our companions went in, but they didn't find any survivors, only some broken corpses and clothes. Their headbands were also taken. We also found a lot of traces of Konoha ninjas, all left after the explosion. Damn Konoha ninjas. Upon hearing this, the leading sand ninja Jonin couldn't contain his anger and punched a charred tree trunk next to him, instantly breaking the charred trunk that was so thick that it would take one person to hug it. Back to camp. Report the situation here. Unfortunately, no matter how angry he was, he couldn't lose his mind and could only order the return. This was the central line of the battle between the Konoha and Sand Ninja armies. Although it was close to the edge of the battle zone, it was still a very dangerous and important place. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a large forward camp, but rather a sentry post. Chapter 3: Understanding Systems, Experimental Technology Templates. In the darkness, in a cave 30 kilometers from the explosion site, Yu Guanghan casually tossed the 20-odd sand ninja headbands he had collected into a corner of the cave and sat down against the cave wall. Even in the pitch-black cave, Yu Guanghan could see clearly, likely due to the technology template. Technology template, he murmured to himself, closing his eyes and immersing himself into his consciousness. Within his consciousness was a screen with multiple windows arranged side by side, like a web page. The first was the carrier, which Yu Guanghan clicked. The carrier page immediately opened, displaying new content. Carrier, Yu Guanghan, Wang Han, the protagonist's name before transmigration. The carrier is unique and cannot be changed. Templates cannot be installed on non-carriers. Energy collection template, can collect energy, electrical energy, and thermal energy. More will be added later. Downloaded and installed templates. Terminator, T-800 robot template, a skeleton robot made of hard alloy. In active state, it consumes 10 energy per hour. In stationary state, it consumes 2 energy per hour. It can be repaired by consuming energy. Bloodshot, blood nanobit template, replaces the blood in the whole body with nanobits. It can repair any damage and enhance strength to a certain extent. It consumes 1 energy per hour. In repair state, it consumes energy depending on the degree of repair, up to a maximum of 30. Installed weapon templates. SPAS 12 shotgun template, fires 12-gauge shotgun shells. Can be used on the arm. Each manifestation consumes 3 energy, and each bullet consumes 0.2 energy. Minimi light machine gun template, Minimi light machine gun, also known as M249 light machine gun. Combat rate of fire, 700-1000 rounds min. Effective range, 1000 m. Each manifestation consumes 5 energy, and each bullet consumes 0.1 energy. Seeing that he only had 4 technology templates, Wang Han exited the carrier panel and looked at the second panel, the technology panel. Opening the technology panel, He saw that the T-800 robot template and the blood nanobot template were installed, and it was searching for new templates. Exiting, he clicked on the third panel, Weapon Templates, which showed that the SPAS-12 shotgun template and the Minimi light machine gun template were installed. It was also searching for new templates. Exiting again, he clicked on the fourth panel, Technology Templates, which showed none yet, and it was searching for new templates. Exiting again, he clicked on the fifth and final panel, Energy Storage. Currently stored energy: 1,770 points, storage limit: 5,000 points. There was no other information after that. The 1,770 points were likely mostly obtained by sacrificing the heat energy generated by the explosive tags. After exiting his consciousness, Wang Han couldn't help but touch his arm, squeezing it hard. He could directly feel his strength had increased significantly, his physical toughness had improved considerably, and his pain had greatly decreased. He took out a kunai, a type of kunai, gestured at his forearm, and without hesitation, sliced open his forearm, creating a 10-centimeter long, deep wound that exposed the bone. However, no blood flowed. Instead, a dark gray substance began to gather on the wound. The moment his forearm was cut open, Wang Han saw that his bones were no longer bones, but rather the skeleton of a Terminator T-800 robot, gleaming with a cold metallic sheen. Before Wang Han could examine it closely, countless nanobots immediately covered the wound and began to repair it, as if dark gray mud was flowing across it. In just a few breaths, the wound was completely healed. This was the work of Wang Han, who loved watching movies in his past life. These nanobots had replaced his entire blood supply. Bang! Wang Han stood up, turned, and punched the hard cave wall with all his might. His fist collided with a wall, producing a muffled thud, and several cracks immediately appeared in the cave wall. Wang Han's fist was also mangled and raw. Raising his fist for a closer look, he saw that the steel skeleton had been exposed on the knuckles. Nanobots were rapidly repairing the mangled flesh. In less than a breath, the repair was complete, leaving his fist intact. Looking at the total energy points, repairing his fist had consumed nearly 2. Bang bang bang. After a moment of silent thought, Yu Guang'an raised his fists and began to punch the cave wall frantically. With each punch, a series of muffled thuds echoed through the cave, and the cracks in the cave walls widened, sending debris flying. In a short time, a crater half a meter deep was created. So hard, and so powerful. About 10 punches would be enough to shatter the Earth release, Earth formation's defenses, Yu Guang'an commented, observing his repairing fists and the intact exposed metal skeleton. With his current body, he was certain he could kill many more and stronger Sand Ninja in the upcoming battle. After a moment of silence and contemplation, Moonlight Han turned and walked out of the cave. The sound of gunfire was loud and would easily reveal his position. This was a battlefield, he would be exposed day or night. But he had to conduct the experiment, and he would be exposed sooner or later anyway. His grudge wouldn't allow him to afford to hide. Once outside the cave, Moonlight Han found a small tree about the size of a bowl, raised his right hand, and aimed at the trunk. After consuming 3 energy points, Moonlight Han's forearm and hand instantly lengthened and changed shape, transforming into a shotgun that grew from his arm. A SPAS-12 shotgun. The transformation took the same amount of time as clenching his fist. Consuming 1 energy point, 5 shotgun shells materialized directly inside the gun. Moonlight Han aimed at the bowl-sized tree trunk and fired. Bang! The sound was somewhat like a plastic bottle exploding, but much louder. A spent cartridge ejected from the chamber, turning into something resembling weathered rock in midair. It seemed the system also kept its technology secret. The bowl-sized tree trunk was already half broken. Such damage would be fatal to an ordinary ninja if they were shot at close range, even if they survived the initial attack. Moreover, the speed of the shotgun pellets would make it difficult for a Chunin to react, let alone dodge. Bang 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 bang. Turning his arm to fire the shotgun, Yu Guang'an fired 4 shots in quick succession at a tree 5 meters away with a diameter of half a meter. The bark flew everywhere, and steel pellets were driven deep into the trunk. The shotgun pellets spread over a radius of 40 centimeters. A single shot could blast a large hole in an ordinary wooden door. His hands, and even his feet, could transform into shotguns. For an ordinary Chunin to get close would be suicide, and even for a Jonin, it would be extremely dangerous. After all, not everyone is a rare beast like my guy. After testing the shotgun, Yu Guanghan consumed another 5 energy points to transform his arm into an M249 light machine gun, and then used another 300 energy points to materialize 300 bullets. His right arm had transformed into an M249 light machine gun. He raised his hand, aiming at a tree 50 meters away. His current strength was sufficient to easily wield the M249 with one hand. Rat-a-tat-tat, dozens of bullets poured out within seconds, the crisp gunfire echoing through the dark forest, carrying far and wide, audible even miles away. The sound reverberated through the forest. Bang 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 bang, bark and wood fragments flew from the tree trunk 50 meters away, but it didn't break the tree. To break a tree half a meter in diameter would require hundreds or thousands of bullets, or even dozens of large-caliber bullets. After dozens of bullets had been fired, Moonlight Han stopped shooting. With the help of the T-800's vision, Wang Han clearly saw that the tree 50 meters away was riddled with bullet holes. Satisfied with the initial results of the M249 light machine gun test, Moonlight Han then aimed the muzzle at a tree 100 meters away. Rat-a-tat-tat, the loud gunshots rang out again, bullets flashing red as they flew rapidly. Then 200 meters, 300 meters, 350 meters, 400 meters, until Wang Han had fired all 300 bullets, the muzzle turning red hot. Nodding in satisfaction, Yu Guanghan felt even more confident. The M249 light machine gun's bullet muzzle velocity was 747 meters per second, exceeding the speed of sound. The sound of the gunshot wouldn't alert the enemy beforehand, and the bullets were small and difficult to spot. Without defensive ninjutsu, ordinary Chunin Engineer wouldn't be able to escape its barrage. Firing at a distance of several hundred meters, ninjutsu was far from reaching him. Even a 30-person ninja squad could be fought back. The previous trap was one he had built at great expense. However, there was still an experiment to be done. After the experiment in operation consumed 70 energy points, he didn't know how much energy one point of the system's energy actually represented. This also needed to be tested as soon as possible. This was the key to his ability to continue fighting at his own pace. Chapter 4: The Infiltrating Sand Ninja Team. Back in the cave, Yu Guanghan began his final experiment. Fortunately, he possessed lightning attribute chakra and could use lightning-style ninjutsu. Rabbit, rat, noon, and lightning release, earth walk, blue electricity flowed from Yu Guanghan's hands, landing on the 10 kunai stuck in the ground before him. Each kunai was bound with a steel wire, the other end of which was tied to Yu Guanghan's feet and waist. Although dangerous, this was the method Yu Guanghan most wanted to test. Even if it failed, he would at most be paralyzed and unable to move for a while. Buzz! A buzzing sound echoed in the cave, and blue light illuminated every corner. The buzzing blue electricity landed on the kunai, traveling along the steel wires back to Yu Guanghan's body. Without electricity, his entire body could be transformed, allowing him to light up even with a light bulb in his mouth. All the electricity traveling back along the wires was absorbed by the system the moment it touched Yu Guanghan's skin, becoming his energy source. Seeing the best-case scenario unfold, Yu Guanghan breathed a sigh of relief. His plan had worked. Lightning release ninjutsu could be converted into energy points, and he was at least immune to low-level lightning release. As for fire release, he already knew about it. Once his lightning release ninjutsu ended, Yu Guanghan eagerly immersed himself back into his consciousness and opened the system's energy panel. He saw that his original 1,700 energy points had increased to 1,710, an increase of 10 points. At his current level, lightning release, earth release could restore 10 energy points. With his current chakra reserves, he could use lightning release, earth release 6 more times. He then experimented with refining chakra, and his worst fears were not realized. Even with a T-800 robot template and a nano-blood robot template installed, he could still refine chakra. However, the technology template still affected his chakra refining, slowing it by more than half. That's right, he still had flesh, only his blood had been replaced with nano-robots. He still wanted to use ninjutsu to replenish his energy, or cut down a couple of trees to ignite and roast himself over a fire. However, the commotion caused by the recent weapon test was considerable, and it might attract some ninjas. Whether they were Konoha or sand ninjas, Yu Guanghan didn't want them to discover him. Using firearms at night would easily reveal the muzzle flash and bullet trajectory. Taking as spoils, Yu Guanghan quickly left the cave and disappeared into the night. In the darkness, illuminated by the faint moonlight, A squad of 21 elite sand ninjas silently advanced through the forest in a fixed formation. They were constantly vigilant, cleaning up any traces they left behind. 2 sand ninjas responsible for sensory perception took turns maintaining their sensory ninjutsu at all times, not daring to be careless. Their mission was to bypass the main battlefield of the standoff, infiltrate behind Konoha's lines, gather intelligence, locate enemy outposts and forward camps, assassinate enemy ninjas, and harass and disrupt Konoha's logistics. Aside from direct combat, this tactic is common in ninja wars. Konoha has repeatedly sent ninja teams to infiltrate their rear, and even has dedicated assassination squads. Both Konoha and Tsunagakure have suffered greatly from this tactic. Yet they are helpless and continue to use it. Captain Hiruno, chakra detection detected 2 kilometers ahead. 1. Very low chakra level, probably a Jinan. In the stealthily advancing Tsunagakure squad, the ninja in charge of sensing whispered to the middle-aged Tsunagakure ninja beside him. Is it a sentry post? Or really a Jinan? If it's a Jinan, then it's a fleeing ninja. Upon hearing this, the middle-aged sand ninja quickly considered the situation. Regardless of the reason, they needed to go. Taking down one of the enemy's outposts would be even better. He whispered to the others, sneak over quietly, try to capture them alive without making a sound. If they're escaped Konoha ninjas, we might get some useful information. If they're ours, kill them. P.S. Escaped ninjas are afraid of death and are easier to infiltrate. During major battles, Jinan are generally not used as sentries. Jinan have less experience and are weaker, increasing the chances of being infiltrated by the enemy and potentially revealing information. A few Jinan are exceptions. No one responded. Everyone silently nodded and, guided by the sensory ninja, stealthily crept towards the direction where the ninja had been spotted. 2 kilometers was nothing to ninjas, even stealthily advancing. They arrived nearby in just 10 minutes. The enemy is hiding in a tree about 100 meters away in that direction. Hidden behind a tree, the sensory ninja pointed in a direction and whispered to the squad leader, Hiruno, who was hiding behind another tree nearby. They didn't even set up a warning trap. It really could be a fleeing Jinan. Hearing this, Hiruno, the sand ninja captain, was secretly pleased. The enemy was clearly inexperienced. They hadn't seen any traps even at nearly 100 meters. If it wasn't a sentry post, it was highly likely to be a fleeing Jinan. Hiruno immediately used hand gestures to communicate with the other sand ninja, who quickly exchanged commands and quietly surrounded the tree the sensory ninja had indicated from both sides. Although they might only be dealing with a fleeing Jinan, they weren't careless. Low chakra levels didn't necessarily mean the enemy was a Jinan. Did they find you by sensing your chakra? That saves me the trouble of looking for you. Hidden within the canopy of the large tree, Ye Guanghan, who had been resting, was awakened. He silently observed the approaching sand ninja, his mind racing with excitement as he quickly devised a battle plan. With a Terminator T-800 template, his eyes were no longer flesh and blood, but intelligent electronic eyes. Not only did they possess night vision, easily discerning their appearance and clothing in the dark, but their observational abilities were also extremely powerful. Unless they were ninjas who could burrow underground, the moment they exposed themselves, even for a fleeting moment, their lurking sand ninja would not escape his notice. He hadn't set up any warning traps, nor did he have the materials to do so, but the T-800 robot system was highly alert. With a technological template installed, his body only needed nutritional replenishment and relief from cellular fatigue. Mental rest could be achieved simply by immersing his mind in his sea of consciousness. His external body remained in standby mode, requiring no movement, not even the closing of his eyes, yet it could still constantly monitor all surrounding movements and sounds, issuing warnings and awakening his mind at the slightest sign of trouble. 2 minutes later, 2 sand ninja Jonin had carefully crept up to the tree. Looking at the Moonlight Man resting against a tree trunk, who seemed not to be awake, the 2 sand ninja Jonin exchanged a glance, pushed off with their feet, and shot towards the Moonlight Man resting in the treetop like a swift arrow. Chapter 5 The First Battle of the Cheat Code. Bang! Bang! Gunshots rang out in the quiet forest at night, echoing through the darkness. Flames suddenly erupted from the dense canopy, and the heads of 2 Jonin who had fired at the treetops exploded like watermelons. Damn it, they've spotted us. Not Jinan. Kill him. A low growl came from behind a tree not far away. Yuan Yi stepped out, his hands already forming hand seals. Wind release, gale palm. Before the 2 Jonin's bodies even hit the ground, a huge, Transparent wind blade slashed rapidly towards Yu Guanghan in the canopy. Gale palm technique. A huge, sharp wind blade several meters long was unleashed from the hand, flying towards the opponent with incredible speed and cutting power. Wind release. Beast wave palm. The hidden sand ninja emerged from behind the trees and bushes, unleashing dozens of kunai and countless foot-long wind blades from all directions towards the canopy where Yu Guanghan was hiding, blocking all his escape routes. Their coordination was impeccable. Wind release techniques, like the beast wave palm, created numerous small wind blades in their hands, which flew out to kill the enemy. Facing the wind release ninjutsu coming from all directions, Yu Guanghan didn't dodge. The gale palm was too fast to dodge, and the wind blades from the beast wave palm and the kunai fired by the sand ninja were too dense to avoid completely, so he simply didn't dodge. Whoosh! The canopy was sliced apart by the wind blades, branches were cut off, and large leaves fell from the canopy. In no time, the dense canopy was stripped bare. In the tree canopy, a massive gash was ripped open in Yu Guanghan's chest by a large wind blade, several meters long, which seemed to cleave him in two at the waist, sending him flying. He crashed heavily to the ground several meters from the tree, creating a shallow, human-shaped crater. Yu Guanghan's body was also covered in wounds from smaller wind blades, each one deep enough to expose bone. Numerous kunai were embedded deep within him. From a distance, it seemed certain he was dead. To the sand ninja, Yu Guanghan didn't even have time to use a substitution jutsu before being overwhelmed by their attacks. The sand ninja didn't believe Yu Guanghan, struck by so many ninjutsu, could survive. Only two chunin approached the fallen Yu Guanghan. 4 other ninjas went to the sand junin who had been killed by a headshot beneath the tree, preparing to seal their bodies with scrolls and take them away. Damn bastards, the sand village squad leader gritted his teeth. Despite being extremely careful, they had still lost 2 junin. These weren't fleeing junin, they were sentries, and most likely junin, even elite junin. The noise they'd made had probably been noticed by other Konoha ninja. None of the sand village ninja noticed that the body of the man they thought was dead, Gecko Han, was rapidly healing. His deep, bone-revealing wounds were almost completely healed. The T-800 skeletal robot is really tough. No wonder it's a robot used in modern warfare. I might as well be bolder now, Gecko Han thought to himself, lying on the ground, his hands already transformed into 2 M249 light machine guns, loaded with bullets, a materialized, automatically loaded weapon. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat, a fierce barrage of gunfire suddenly erupted. Just as the sand ninja were seething with anger, the Moonlight Man, whom they thought was dead, suddenly sat up. His hands transformed into strange objects, aimed at them, the tips flashing with sparks and emitting a series of crisp, loud sounds. PFFT 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 PFFT. Almost instantly, jets of blood spurted from the bodies of the 2 sand ninja who were approaching the Moonlight Man, as if something had pierced through their bodies with immense force. The 2 sand ninja immediately collapsed. The same happened to the sand ninja who were collecting the bodies of the fallen junin. Even the tree trunks beside them were constantly splattered with bits of wood and bark, indicating the intensity of the attack. How is this possible, seeing their seemingly doomed enemy suddenly come back to life and kill 6 more comrades in the blink of an eye? The remaining sand ninja were filled with disbelief. Some quickly hid behind nearby trees, concealing themselves in the darker forest. Die! Some of the nearby sand ninja roared, drawing kunai and charging at Yu Guanghan, or forming hand seals to unleash ninjutsu. You have no chance. Yu Guanghan's voice was icy as he watched the approaching sand ninja and those preparing to unleash ninjutsu again. The light machine gun in his hand, spitting flames, rapidly spun its muzzle, and a stream of crimson bullets swept towards the 2 sand ninja who were forming hand seals in the blink of an eye. PFFT PFFT PFFT. Before they could even finish their ninjutsu hand seals, let alone dodge, the 2 sand ninja who were preparing to unleash their ninjutsu were pierced through by bullets, leaving several bloody holes in their bodies. Damn it! The sand ninja squad leader, Hiruno, who had retreated back into the shadows, stopped forming hand seals, his grip tightening. It was too fast. Not even a second had passed, so fast that even he, an elite junin, didn't have time to unleash a defensive ninjutsu to save them. Damn it! Die! The 3 sand ninja who had charged towards Yu Guanghan finally reached him, their poison kunai and katana, glowing with a purple light, slashing fiercely at his body. Clang! The kunai and katana easily sliced through Yu Guanghan's muscles and skin, But when they struck bone and pierced his internal organs, they produced a metallic clang, and the kunai and katana could go no further. How is this possible? Several sand ninjas stared in disbelief at the kunai and katana that had pierced through skin and muscle but could not go any further. It felt like stabbing a stiff puppet wrapped in human flesh and skin. Surprised? Too bad you're about to die, a cold voice rang out, and Yu Guangyan's hands had transformed into shotguns, pressed against the abdomen of one of the sand ninja who was 2 meters away. Run! Feeling the touch on their abdomens and hearing Yu Guangyan's cold words, 2 of the 3 sand ninja broke out in a cold sweat, feeling the approach of death. Their bodies instinctively jumped backward, trying to get away from Yu Guangyan. Too late. Bang! Bang! The cold words announced death. With 2 muffled gunshots, 2 sand ninja were instantly sent flying by the immense power of the shotgun shells. Their abdomens were already mangled, blood and internal organs splattering in the air. Damn it! Seeing his 2 comrades fly away in a gruesome manner, the remaining sand ninja was filled with dread. He immediately leaped backward, raising his hands to form hand seals and release a defensive ninjutsu. You think you can form hand seals in front of me? A cold voice rang out. Bang! 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 Accompanying the cold voice were 8 sharp gunshots, flashes of light flashing in the darkness. While still in midair, his hands barely raised to his chest, hundreds of steel pellets engulfed the sand ninja, blasting him even further away. When he landed, the front half of his body was already a bloody mess. Damn it! Hiruno roared as he watched his comrades die again. He tried to rescue them once more, but still couldn't even finish the hand seals. Everything happened too fast, and his elite sand ninja squad of 20 was now down to only 7. Die? Hiruno roared, his hand seals moving at unprecedented speed. Wind release, pressure damage, PS, the quotation marks don't represent spoken words, but rather a mental thought or ninjutsu. Chapter 6 is this, a puppet? Wind release, crush, a massive, compressed vortex of wind, hurtling towards Yu Guangyan at the speed of a typhoon, possessed immense wind pressure capable of tearing everything apart. Such an attack, if launched from the shadows, would be difficult even for a Jonin to dodge, and the exploding vortex had a vast area of effect. I can't dodge. Seeing the massive vortex hurtling towards him, Yu Guangyan immediately realized that his body, weighing over half a ton, was no match for this fast-moving, wide-range attack. He raised his arms to shield his head and eyes, bending his knees slightly to better withstand the onslaught. Boom! A sound like an explosion rang out. A hurricane howled, countless tiny wind blades slicing through Yu Guangyan's body, scraping away his flesh. The fierce hurricane made it difficult for him to stand, dust billowed, and layers of soil were ripped away, uprooting trees and tearing them apart. Did they kill him? He should be dead. After all, that was the captain's A-rank ninjutsu, wind release. That's devastating. Hiruno and the remaining 6 sand ninja carefully observed the smoke and dust, speaking uncertainly. Although they were confident in the power of the devastating attack, the enemy's strangeness and strength made them dare not be careless in the slightest. Especially at the end, they all saw the enemy raise his arms in a defensive stance, and despite being attacked and covered in wounds, he hadn't died, but instead killed most of them. Infrared, in the smoke and dust, after the wind release's power subsided, looking at the smoke and dust that obscured his vision, Moonlight Han closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his eyes had turned bloodshot, like the eyes of a demon ready to devour its prey. At this moment, Moonlight Han's eyes no longer saw ordinary scenery, only blue, black, yellow, and red. The hidden sand ninja were so conspicuous at this moment. His hands, which had transformed back into M249 light machine guns, were raised. Rat-a-tat-tat, the sound of machine guns rang out from the smoke and dust, bullets churning the billowing dust as they shot out. At a distance of 50 meters, in less than 0.1 seconds, the sand ninja hadn't even heard a sound. Their nerves had barely registered the danger, when the bullets had already pierced through the smoke and dust, passing through their chests one after another, turning 2 of them into sieves, not even having time to scream. The torrent of bullets quickly swept towards the sand ninjas nearby. Get out of the way, Hiruno shouted, taking the lead and hiding behind a nearby tree. At the same time, his hands quickly formed hand seals. Earth release, earth wall, a 2-meter-high and wide earthen wall blocked the tree and Hiruno. The remaining 4 sand ninjas also quickly took cover behind the surrounding trees, one of them also using an earth wall. This attack is too fast, there's no way to fight him head-on, Hiruno, hiding behind a tree, listened carefully to the sounds, cautiously watching the smoke and dust, quickly thinking of a countermeasure. This attack was extremely fast, and its penetrating power were also greatly amplified by the speed. Fortunately, they couldn't directly penetrate the trees and the thick or thin walls. Hiding is useless, a cold voice rang out. As the smoke and dust dissipated, the sand ninja, who had been cautiously and nervously watching through the dust, finally saw clearly. The Moonlight Man, with most of his flesh scraped away and many parts revealing a metallic robot-like form, looked like a vengeful ghost returned from hell, walking towards them step by step. Many floating objects surrounded the Moonlight Man, and the scraped flesh was slowly regenerating. Is this a puppet? The sand ninja's eyes widened, unable to imagine that such a metallic puppet existed in the world. No, this isn't a puppet. No one is controlling him, it's an unknown bloodline limit. Watching the Moonlight Man approach step by step, completely autonomous, Sand Ninja Squad leader Hiruno quickly dismissed the puppet theory. As an elite jonin of Sand Ninja, he knew puppets very well. This couldn't be a puppet. No puppeteer could control a cumbersome steel golem, and this enemy had no controller either. Its rapidly regenerating flesh and blood further confirmed this was an unknown, eerie bloodline limit. The enemy's abilities were too bizarre. Its steel-like body couldn't even withstand wind-style pressure, and its attacks were difficult to dodge. Killing this enemy was too difficult. In fact, they might all be wiped out. Retreat. Having made his decision, Yuanai shouted to his 4 remaining companions. He raised his hand and fired several kunai with explosive tags at the approaching Yu Guanghan, then quickly retreated into the forest. Seeing this, the other 4 sand ninja also fired several kunai with explosive tags at Yu Guanghan before fleeing, trying to hide themselves under the cover of the surrounding trees. They dared not jump into the trees to escape. They weren't sure if the branches could block the attacks, nor could they completely conceal their bodies. Boom boom boom, the explosive tags exploded around Yu Guanghan, but aside from the shockwaves creating some resistance, they essentially just recharged their own energy. Once you expose yourself, even just a little, you won't be able to escape. During the explosion, Moonlight Han coldly spoke, watching the 5 fleeing sand ninja, and quickly took to the run. His hand, transformed into a light machine gun, began aiming. Although the sand ninja had tried their best to hide behind the surrounding trees, they were still constantly exposing themselves. With his infrared-enabled electronic eyes, he could perfectly predict the moment they exposed themselves, even if it was just a part of their body, and seize the opportunity. Rat-a-tat-tat. Rat-a-tat-tat, gunfire erupted like firecrackers, crimson bullets flashing through the forest like streaks of light. Thud. 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 A sand ninja had just run from one tree to another when a crimson bullet suddenly struck, instantly piercing his body with several bloody holes. The running sand ninja fell to the ground, rolling away. Thud. 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 Several more bullets struck, piercing the sand ninja again with several more bloody holes. Kyujin, looking at the dead sand ninja, another sand ninja nearby had bloodshot eyes. Thud. 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 A dozen bullets suddenly struck the edges of the tree trunks in front of and behind him, causing him to stop instantly. He leaned against the tree trunk, panting heavily, cold sweat soaking his back, but also quickly calming him down. So close, so very close, they almost hit him. He didn't want to die. He knew that the next time he exposed himself would be his death. Under the infrared thermal imaging, perfect object perception is impossible. 30 meters away. Moonlight Man frowned. Although there were only 4 heat sources, the heat radiated, affecting his judgment. Hitting the edge of the tree trunk just now was a misjudgment. His speed was sufficient for chasing ordinary Jinan, but it was insufficient for pursuing these elite sand ninja. His time for pursuit was limited, or rather, very short. Although the M249 light machine gun had a range of 1 kilometer, the further the distance, the greater the wind's influence on the bullets, making aiming more difficult and the hit rate lower. Even as a robot, he couldn't avoid this. Furthermore, the enemy had repeatedly used earthen walls behind trees at crucial moments, creating numerous opportunities for escape. While continuing to run, one hand transformed into a light machine gun aimed at the tree behind the stopped sand ninja, while the other hand continued firing at other fleeing sand ninja. 30 meters was covered in 2 or 3 seconds. No, when Wang Han ran past a tree where the stopped sand ninja was hiding 5 meters away, he could see the sand ninja's terrified expression. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat, the light machine gun aimed at him opened fire, a dozen bullets piercing him in a second. Damn it! Even this isn't working. Hearing the desperate cries of their comrades and the sudden bursts of gunfire behind them, Hiruno and the other two sand ninjas' faces grew even paler. Thud, thud, thud. As they grieved, a dozen more bullets grazed one of them, striking the trees in front and behind, drawing streams of blood. Blood flowed from his chest and abdomen. This ninja had been hit by several bullets in the chest and abdomen. The intense pain nearly made him faint. Fortunately, it didn't kill him immediately, but even so, he knew he wouldn't survive, wouldn't be able to hold on until he could escape back to find a medical ninja. "Captain, I can't escape with these injuries. Carry me," the wounded sand ninja said, leaping behind Hiruno, knowing his condition. "You saved my life before, this time I finally have a chance to thank you. The enemy isn't fast, I believe the captain will escape soon." "Sugiki, you?" Looking at his comrade beside him, Hiruno understood his meaning. He was going to use his body to shield him from the attack. "Captain, you run. I can't escape either. We must get the information back, or countless comrades will die at this guy's hands," another sand ninja said resolutely, leaning against a tree and quickly forming hand seals. Earth release, earth wall, with all his might, a 3-meter high, 3-foot thick, and 5-meter wide earthen wall rose from the ground, obscuring the figures of the two fleeing sand ninjas. Behind the tree trunk behind the earthen wall, the sand ninja who stayed behind to cover the retreat pulled out all the explosive tags he had and gripped them tightly. Even if it was to cover the retreat, he had to struggle. He didn't care about living, he just wanted to kill his opponent. "Take care," Hiruno said sadly, carrying his comrade and continuing to flee desperately. Chapter 7 Incomplete Intelligence. Seeing their comrades choose to stay behind to cover their retreat, Hiruno and another sand ninja gritted their teeth. They knew their teammates couldn't escape now, and only in this way could Hiruno escape and bring back information about this terrifying enemy. Although the enemy's speed was only that of a Jinan, their attacks were extremely dangerous, and the distance was too great. Even this short escape distance had put them in grave danger multiple times, covering the rear. Suicide, the sand ninja who suddenly stopped didn't escape Moonlight Hand's eyes. Unfortunately, the earthen wall blocked his view, and he didn't see his subsequent movements. Moonlight Han also became cautious, jumping directly onto a tree trunk and starting the pursuit from the tree. Rat-a-tat-tat, the gunfire continued. From the tree, Moonlight Han could see two more sand ninjas fleeing. The gunfire continued, and Moonlight Han's other hand, transformed into a light machine gun, remained aimed at the earthen wall. Up the tree. Only one chance, the sand ninja thought to himself from behind the earthen wall, preparing himself. He was one of the two sensory ninjas in this team. Die. 5 seconds later, just as Yu Guanghan was about to leap over the earthen wall, a sand ninja suddenly jumped out from behind it, roaring as he lunged at Yu Guanghan. The explosive tag clutched in his hand was already ignited. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat, the muzzle of the prepared gun immediately spat fire, bullets relentlessly piercing the chest of the sand ninja charging towards him. Boom! In the next instant, a terrifying explosion erupted from the sand ninja's hand, engulfing the forest within a 30-meter radius. The shockwave and blast from the near-field explosion violently blasted Yu Guanghan away, sending him flying hundreds of meters into the air. "Damn it," Yu Guanghan cursed. Although the explosion hadn't caused him any harm, it had increased the distance between him and the fleeing sand ninja. The heat from the explosion severely affected his infrared electronic eyes, turning them completely red. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat, in mid-air, after the flames subsided somewhat, and the heat of the fleeing sand ninja became slightly visible, Moonlight Han, who had been blasted away, estimated their location and fired wildly, unleashing a torrent of bullets. He couldn't catch up. Although he could barely see them from the air, at a distance of over 300 meters, the light machine gun couldn't fire accurately and continuously. The sand ninja were fast, and there were many trees providing cover. Now he could only hope that Lady Luck was on his side. Next time in this kind of terrain, I must switch to armor-piercing bullets. After landing, Moonlight Han gritted his teeth and muttered to himself, finding the headband of the self-destructing sand ninja before turning and heading back the way he came. After unleashing 200 bullets in the air, Moonlight Han still hadn't seen the result he wanted. Bang bang bang. Thud thud thud. He ran desperately through the wilderness, scattered bullets raining down on him, hitting the trees around him, the soil, and even grazing past him, making thud 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 sounds. Several bullets struck his comrade on his back, piercing his body before hitting him. His comrade was already lifeless. I can't stop. If I stop, I'll be caught. I can't let everyone die in vain, he kept telling himself this. Enduring the pain and sorrow, carrying his wounded comrade and running frantically. With his comrade's body acting as a buffer, the bullets from behind were greatly reduced in power, finally not completely piercing his body and causing massive damage, but they still remained inside, causing considerable harm. In the now dark and quiet forest, Yu Guanghan first collected the headband of a dead sand ninja, then stripped off and put on the ordinary clothes under his sand ninja vest. The sand ninja's wind release technique had left him naked while chasing them through the forest. After putting on his clothes, Yu Guanghan slowly collected the useful items and food from the dead sand ninja before heading towards the location of the previous dead sand ninja. 757 points remaining. While collecting his spoils, Moonlight Han tallied up his energy consumption during the battle. The intense fighting, movement-related energy expenditure, multiple weapon transformations, and the use of conjured bullets didn't consume many energy points, approximately 200, with a majority coming from conjured machine gun bullets. Repairing his installed technology templates consumed a significant amount of energy points. Repairing the T-800 robot template alone cost over 200 points. The Sand Ninja's Gale Palm had also caused considerable damage to his alloy frame, as he had the pressure damage. The nanobits repairing his own body consumed the most energy points, exceeding 600. Although the enemy's explosive tags provided some replenishment, the battle still cost him nearly 1,000 energy points. 1,000 energy points was equivalent to unleashing 100 lightning release techniques. Damn it, how can someone with this kind of strength be used as a sentry? They could be much more valuable on the front lines. Hiruno, suffering from severe blood loss, struggled through the forest carrying the corpse of his comrade. The thought of his elite 20-man squad being reduced to a single man in just a few minutes, and how he had only escaped thanks to his comrade's desperate cover, sent shivers down his spine. These were 20 elite comrades, including 2 Jonin. Anger, resentment, hatred, fear, and helplessness overwhelmed him. All he could do, already severely wounded, was report back to the camp. However, he feared he wouldn't make it back to camp, failing his comrade's expectations. Although his comrade's body had absorbed most of the bullet's force, preventing immediate death, the bullets had still inflicted serious injuries. 2 bullets lodged in his lungs and liver, and with the added blood loss and internal bleeding, he was nearing his end. Stumbling and falling, Hiruno collapsed to the ground again. This time, he lacked the strength to stand up again. His eyelids grew heavier and heavier, his will finally gave way. A new bloodline limit has appeared among the Konoha ninjas. Its power is immense. The 6th harassment squad has been wiped out. Weakly lying on the ground, knowing he was utterly unable to survive and bring the intelligence back, Hiruno could only tremble his fingers and, with all his might, write the intelligence deeply into the ground. He only hoped his comrades would find his body soon and bring this crucial information back. Sadly, he died before he could finish writing down the entire intelligence. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 They escaped. I'm not going to chase them. The morning sun slowly illuminated the forest, restoring its light and gradually bringing warmth. Under the morning sun, I can recover 5, 8, and 10 energy points per hour. Does this count as solar power? By a stream in the forest, exposed to the elements, Moonlight Han lay sprawled on a stretch of broken bluestone riverbed, basking lazily in the morning sun, his mind observing the technology template system, thinking to himself. After 3 hours of sunbathing, he recovered 5 energy points in the first hour after sunrise, 8 in the second, and 10 in the third. Relying on sunlight to recover energy points, the recovery rate increased as the sunlight intensified. Although the recovery was slow, the 11 or 12 hours of daylight added up to nearly 10 lightning release techniques. Moreover, this time didn't interfere with his chakra refining, although Moonlight Han wasn't refining chakra at the moment. Whoosh, a sharp whistling sound suddenly rang out from the forest by the river. 2 jet black kunai flew rapidly from the bushes beneath the trees, hurtling towards Yu Guanghan. Thud. Thud. The sound of kunai piercing flesh rang out as the 2 jet black kunai accurately struck Yu Guanghan's neck and head. It's a dead Konoha ninja, teacher. How did you know he was a Konoha ninja? In the forest, 3 boys and girls of similar age to Yu Guanghan, led by a sand village chunin, emerged from the bushes and approached Yu Guanghan, who lay on the ground, asking and answering questions. Because he wasn't wearing our ninja vest or headband, but rather clothing in the style of our Sunagakure village. He's about your age, but he's wearing adult-sized clothes, teacher, but why is he wearing clothing in the style of our Sunagakure village? And where's his headband? It's common to strip enemy corpses of their clothes on the battlefield. This not only confuses inexperienced enemy ninjas, but it can also be used to impersonate enemy ninjas. Sometimes, if clothes are badly damaged in battle, they'll be taken from the enemy to wear. After all, you can't take the clothes of a fallen comrade from your own village. As for his headband, either he hid it, or it was taken as spoils of war. Teacher, if he can impersonate an enemy ninja, why did he only strip clothes and not his ninja vest to impersonate one of ours? The battlefield is brutal. Just wearing enemy clothes is troublesome and dangerous enough. So, unless absolutely necessary, we won't remove enemy ninja vests, especially when operating alone. Not only is it highly likely you'll die at the hands of your own ninjas, but there's also a significant chance the enemy ninjas will recognize you. Besides, these clothes are usually discarded once you return to your own camp to avoid misunderstandings with your own ninjas. Remember, on the battlefield, details can determine life and death. The Sand Village Chunin carefully instructed his 3 disciples while keeping a vigilant eye on their surroundings. As they talked, they came to the body of the Moonlit Man lying on the ground. No blood is flowing. He's been dead for quite some time, and the blood has already congealed inside his body, which is why there's no blood flowing after being stabbed with a kunai. If it were a recently deceased ninja, we must be careful. Enemy ninjas might still be lurking nearby. Even with a corpse that has been dead for some time, we cannot let our guard down. Looking at the Moonlit Man lying on the ground, the Sand Village Chunin analyzed for his disciples. Yes. Hearing their teacher's analysis, the 3 Sand Ninja Jinan nodded hastily, diligently memorizing his teachings. These were all experiences for surviving on the battlefield. What if the enemy on the ground is feigning death? The cold voice asked. Feigning death is not uncommon on the battlefield, used to deceive inexperienced ninjas. That's why they test corpses to confirm if they're truly dead. If they're feigning death, they'll naturally reveal their weakness. Otherwise, they're truly dead, a Sand Chunin explained. Suddenly realizing this wasn't his student's voice, his expression changed drastically. He grabbed one of his students and quickly retreated, shouting to his other 2, enemy. Scatter. The 2 Sand Ninja Jinan, without suspicion, immediately retreated 10 meters, back to back, on high alert. Your analysis is excellent. Valuable experience. However, the cold voice continued. Under the gaze of the 4 Sand Ninja, the Moonlight Man lying on the ground reached up and pulled out a kunai piercing his neck and head. He sat up, and his neck quickly covered with a gray substance, rapidly repairing his wounds. There are always some ninjas with special secret techniques and abilities that are impossible to guard against. You were careless in your attempt to teach your students. Seeing the Moonlight Man's wounds mysteriously heal, the 3 Sand Ninja Jinan felt a chill run down their spines. A bloodline limit ninja, and he's already killed so many of his comrades. The Sand Chunin looked at the Moonlight Man sitting up, and his hair stood on end, a bitter feeling rising in his heart. It wasn't just because of the Moonlight Man's strangeness, but also because he saw the spoils of war exposed after the Moonlight Man got up, dozens of Sand Ninja headbands that had been pressed against his back. He'd encountered a ruthless person. Raiko, Shiro, Aoko, run. Split up and escape. I'll hold him off while you try to get the intelligence back. After only a moment's hesitation, the Sand Village Chunin stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the eerie enemy ahead, and spoke to his students. He was already middle-aged, and these students, compared to him, a Chunin at the top, were like his own children. They were the future of the village. Although he didn't know if they could escape back to their camp from this perilous battlefield, or survive the war and grow up, he at least wanted them to escape the certain death situation now. But, teacher, 3 Sand Village Jinan hesitated. Go. That's an order. Before his students could finish speaking, the Sand Village Chunin shouted. Staying here means certain death. Only by bringing the intelligence back will my death have any value. Split up and escape. We're going. One of the Sand Village Jinan gritted his teeth, called out, and turned with his 2 companions, quickly fleeing towards the forest by the river. You are a good teacher, I admire you. It's a pity that in this war, you are from the Sand Village, while I am from the Hidden Leaf Village. My parents died in the sand village. Looking at the sand village Chunin who was covering for his disciple, Yu Guang'an spoke coldly. His raised hand quickly transformed into a SPAS 12 shotgun, aimed at the sand village Chunin. The sand village Chunin's muscles tensed, ready. His eyes fixed on Yu Guang'an and his strangely raised hand. Bang! The gunshot rang out, the loud sound carrying far and wide. Under the immense impact of the shotgun shell, the sand village Chunin's body was thrown back, landing 3 meters away. Ugh! The sand village Chunin cried out in pain, trying to get up, but he had no strength, and his vision grew increasingly dark. Teacher, hearing the loud bang, the sand village boys and girls turned around and saw their teacher's body thrown back, large amounts of blood spraying in the air. Gritting their teeth and suppressing their grief, the 3 sand village boys and girls desperately ran towards the forest. Watching the fleeing sand ninja boys and girls, and finally seeing them disappear into the forest, Yu Guang'an finally lowered his hand, which had transformed into an M249 light machine gun. He muttered, "TCH, what a waste of 5 energy points. I was clearly short of a proper set of clothes." They escaped. "I'm not going to chase them," Yu Guang'an said coldly as he approached the dying sand Chunin. "Thank you," the sand Chunin stammered, finally closing his eyes. "I'm afraid quite a few sand ninja will come here next." Yu Guang'an removed the sand Chunin's headband, carefully collected the useful items from his body, turned, and returned to where he had been lying. He placed the headbands together, lay down again, pressed them against the headbands, and began basking in the sun while simultaneously refining his chakra. Chapter 9 Yakura. The clear river water gurgled softly, like a gentle aquatic solo. Swish, swish, swish. A 15-member elite sand ninja squad leaped among the trees in the forest near the riverbank, advancing along the river. "Lady Yakura, we sensed chakra activity on the riverbank 3 miles ahead. Only one. It should be the enemy from the intelligence," the sand ninja in charge of sensing reported to the lead female ninja, a young and beautiful woman with green-yellow hair and a shapely figure. "Our target should be this guy. Keep moving forward, everyone be extremely careful." According to intelligence, in the past 5 days, including ninjas who went to investigate and those who passed through this area, at least 30 of our comrades have died on the riverbank ahead. Only 3 Jinan from 5 days ago survived and sent back intelligence. Besides that, the 6th harassment squad, consisting of 21 elite ninjas including 2 Jonins and 1 elite Jonin, was also completely wiped out by this enemy. Another 30-man patrol squad led by an elite Jonin is also highly likely to have been destroyed by this enemy. Hearing this, the beautiful female ninja named Yakura shared the information she knew, summarizing, "This enemy is very strong, possessing an unknown and powerful bloodline limit. His strength is already very close to that of a cage." "Yes," the other sand ninjas responded in hushed tones. This was a powerful enemy who had already killed over 100 ninjas. No one dared to underestimate him. Otherwise, their names would be inscribed on the Monument of Heroes. Damn it, they've already lured and killed so many of our ninjas. When Yakura led the elite sand ninja squad to their destination as reported in the intelligence, Yakura and the sand ninja clenched their fists, their hearts filled with hatred for the murderer who had killed their fellow villager. The entire riverbank was littered with the corpses of sand ninja, far exceeding the 30 reported in the intelligence report. More than 130 bodies lay scattered haphazardly among the rubble of this short stretch of riverbank. It was as if a medium-sized skirmish had taken place there. These were sand ninja who, unaware of the situation, had come to check on their fallen comrades after seeing their bodies, or, assuming the chakra they sensed from Gecko Han was from a seriously injured comrade, had come to collect the bodies. Sadly, they had all become victims of Gecko Han's gun, including several sand ninja squads of 10 or more, and even powerful Jonin. The only chakra reaction is in the middle, near the riverbank, at that boy. There are many headbands next to him. A sand ninja, without Yakura needing to ask, pointed out the location of Gecko Han, lying like a corpse on the rubble. Although surprised by the enemy's age, the hatred was even stronger, along with jealousy. Konoha always seemed to produce a plethora of brilliant geniuses. Instead of rushing into an attack, Yakura made a hand gesture, and the sand shinobi began to carefully observe the surroundings, especially the riverbank littered with the corpses of their own ninja. Since the enemy had lured and killed them here, they must have made preparations around the area. However, they hadn't encountered any traps on their way in, and after observing for a long time, they found no trace of any. Whoosh! After observing for a while without finding any flaws, Yakira flicked her wrist. And two kunai shot towards the corpse-masked Moonlight Man. Thud. Thud. Two sounds of sharp blades piercing flesh rang out. The two kunai accurately pierced Moonlight Man's neck. Moonlight Man felt a surge of joy. Another enemy has arrived. We've moved off the battlefield's center line, nearing Sand Ninja territory. In the past 5 days, we've only encountered Sand Ninja. Even Konoha ninjas who infiltrated here haven't dared to approach after seeing so many Sand Ninja corpses. Seeing the kunai accurately pierce the enemy's neck, Yakira frowned. Beside her, a sensory ninja immediately detected the situation and said, "The enemy isn't injured, his chakra fluctuations are still calm. The intelligence says the enemy has an unknown bloodline limit. We can't let our guard down. Continue observing, carefully monitoring our surroundings," Yakira whispered, not revealing himself, but leading the Sand Ninjas to carefully move and continue observing, even though the kunai had just revealed their presence. Yakira's words were also a reminder to the other Sand Ninjas. He didn't mention it might be a puppet because within several kilometers, the sensory ninja had only sensed the chakra fluctuations of one enemy. In ninja battles, intelligence gathering and carelessness can both cost lives. In ninja wars, the goal is to kill as many enemies as possible. You're quite cautious. Come out, there are no traps. Seeing that the enemies hidden in the forest were still hesitant to emerge after their probing, a cold voice rang out from the riverbank. Moonlight Man, who had been pretending to be dead and sunbathing, sat up and turned his gaze towards the grove where the Sand Ninja were hiding. His infrared electronic eyes had already spotted them, although daytime would significantly affect them. There was no answer, and no movement from the forest. The only sounds were the wind and flowing water. Seeing that the enemies were still unwilling to come out, Moonlight Man stood up and kicked the pile of Sand Ninja headbands beside him. His cold voice said, "They were all killed by me on the riverbank. They didn't even have the chance to escape into the forest. Do you dare to come?" Hearing Moonlight Man's words, the Sand Ninja clenched their fists, furious, not because of Moonlight Man's provocative words, but because of his act of kicking the headbands of his dead comrades. Seeing this, and noticing the enemy's gaze fixed on the forest where they were hiding, Yakira knew she had been discovered. She gave a few hand signals to the other Sand Ninja, and led 8 of them out of the forest, landing on the riverbank. Yakira's scorch released from Sand Village. She really came for me. The Sand Ninja already knows about this place. It seems we can't stay here any longer. Looking at the leading Sand Ninja, Yu Guanghan thought regretfully. You didn't all come out? Are you leaving them to escape? Or do you want to break the rule that no Sand Ninja can escape into the forest from my grasp? Then you've succeeded. Her cold words were extremely contemptuous and provocative. No, today you will die on this riverbank, buried with the fallen heroes of Sand Village, Yakira said equally coldly. With a wave of her hand, 4 orange-red fireballs appeared, floating around her. Whoosh! 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 The 8 who followed Yakira moved swiftly, transforming into after-images that formed a semicircle around Yu Guanghan. Among them were 4 Jonin. And the rest were elite Chunin. No, I think you will only become one of them, and your headbands will inevitably become my spoils. Moonlight Ton pointed to the corpses on the ground and the headbands piled up around him. His voice was unwavering, still icy cold. Chapter 10 Barrett Heavy Sniper Template. Then let's try. You'll be the one who dies, Yakira said, directing the fireballs floating around him to shoot towards Yu Guanghan. The Sand Ninja, who formed a semicircle around Yu Guanghan, also began rapidly forming hand seals. Wait? Fighting all the time is too boring. How about we make a bet with information before we start fighting? Yu Guanghan shouted. We'll each reveal an important piece of information, and the survivor will take the information. Yakira ignored Yu Guanghan's words, continuing to control the blazing release fireballs towards him, while the Sand Ninja's hand seals didn't stop. The enemy's words weren't trustworthy, they were more likely a conspiracy, and they wouldn't reveal any information about Tsunagakure. I know information about the 3rd Kazukage's disappearance. Definite information. The next moment, with Yu Guanghan's still cold words, Yakira's blazing release fireballs stopped, and the Sand Ninja's hand seals also stopped. The disappearance of the 3rd Kazukage of Tsunagakure was the fuse for this war, and such information couldn't be ignored, especially when it came from a strong person. It was even more worthy of attention, even if the information was false. The 3rd Kazukage was killed by a rogue ninja from your Tsunagakure village. His name was Sasori, said Gekkohan. Under the disbelieving gazes of Yakira and the Tsunagakure ninja, His hands suddenly transformed into two Barrett rifles. He raised them, aimed them at the forest behind Yakura, and fired in rapid succession. Barrett template. This was a new weapon technology template the system had detected during his 5 days of ambush here. Barrett heavy sniper rifle template, using 12.7mm bullets. The bullet range and rate of fire varied depending on the ammunition. Manifesting the Barrett heavy sniper rifle consumed 10 energy points, and each bullet consumed 1 energy point. Bang 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 bang. 10 loud, thunderous gunshots rang out, echoing across the riverbank and through the forest like rolling thunder. The enormous gunfire even startled Yakura and the other Sunagakure ninja. This time, Moonlight Pawn learned from their mistake and used 12.7mm, specific type not mentioned, armor-piercing bullets. These bullets have an initial velocity exceeding 1,000 meters per second and can penetrate 20mm thick alloy steel plates at a 30-degree angle at a distance of 500 meters. Penetrating a half-meter thick tree trunk at 200 meters is effortless. Moreover, the sand ninja still hiding in the forest, in their pursuit of observation, hadn't completely concealed themselves behind trees. 2 were even hiding only behind bushes. In the sudden turn of events, in just over 0.2 of a second, the sand ninja still hiding in the forest didn't even have time to react before half their heads exploded like watermelons. A shot to the neck could sever half the neck, and even bullets that pierced through trees before penetrating their chests would create walnut-sized holes. Due to the intense impact, the actual condition of a person shot by a Barrett sniper rifle is that the wound shatters directly. Different types of bullets cause different damage. Armor-piercing bullets cause much smaller wounds. All 10 bullets hit their targets, and 6 sand ninja hiding in the forest fell one after another. After the gunfire, Yakura and the sand ninja surrounding Yu Guanghan felt a wave of fear. They were closer to Yu Guanghan, giving them less time to react. At such close range, even Yakura hadn't reacted in time. Lord Yakura, Tsunadhara and the others have all perished, the sensory ninja said to Yakura and his other companions, his tone filled with disbelief. In 3 seconds, all his companions hiding in the forest had been killed, including a Jonin. Damn it. Die, Yakura gritted his teeth and roared, once again manipulating a blazing release fireball to attack Yu Guanghan. Meanwhile, Yu Kang's eyes were fixed on the strange weapons that the enemy's hands had conjured. She moved swiftly, not daring to stop, and shouted to the others, everyone be careful. Don't let his weaponized hands aim at you. She never expected the enemy to attack her companions hiding in the forest behind them, at a greater distance. This enemy clearly intended to wipe them out, leaving no chance of escape. The enemy's attack was so swift and unpredictable, catching them completely off guard and leaving no time to react, that was a distance of 200 or 300 meters. They only saw the enemy's hands spewing fire, saw tiny red beams flash past their eyes, and had no time to react. Earth release, earth wall, multiply by 3 wind release, great breakthrough, multiply by 2 wind release, hurricane assault, earth release, earth dragon bullet, fire release, fire dragon bullet. The other sand ninja also unleashed their ninjutsu, their eyes fixed on the enemy ahead, ready to use body flicker technique and substitution technique at any moment. They quickly circled around Yu Guanghan, slowly approaching him. They didn't even dare to jump. Charging straight at Yu Guanghan and briefly hovering in the air after a jump would undoubtedly give the enemy an opportunity to kill them. Even without Yakura's warning, they understood that once the enemy's hands, transformed into strange weapons, were aimed at them, it would be as if death had already swung its inescapable dagger. After all, even Jonin, excluding speed-type ninjas, rarely exceeded 100 meters per second, and they were less than 100 meters from the enemy. Faced with that fleeting red beam of light, they wouldn't even have time to react. Even if they could react, at such close range, their physical speed wouldn't be enough to keep up and dodge. 3 earthen walls rose from the riverbank, blocking Yu Guanghan's path 20 meters away, also obstructing part of his vision. A howling wind whipped up pebbles from the riverbank, hurling them at Yu Guanghan and simultaneously obstructing his vision and movements. A terrifying hurricane descended from the sky, engulfing Yu Guanghan and tearing at his body with its relentless force. A fire dragon surged into the hurricane, growing larger and hotter, scorching and burning his flesh. A watermelon-sized earth ball shot towards Yu Guanghan with a whistling sound. If an ordinary person were hit, their bones would surely break. Ignoring the flames engulfing him and the scorching fireballs hurtling towards him, enduring the pelting pebbles and the hurricane's pull, Yu Guang'an swiftly escaped the range of the composite ninjutsu, Fire Dragon Tornado. He only regretted losing his clothes. What's going on? Even Lord Yeken's scorching ninjutsu didn't harm him. Is this his bloodline limit? What kind of bloodline limit is this? Seeing Moonlight Han emerge from the combined ninjutsu Fire Tornado. Completely unharmed even by Pakura's scorching release fireball, not even his hair was burned, the Sand Ninja stared in shock. A terrifying thought crossed their minds: could the enemy's bloodline limit be immune to fire release, including scorching release? Damn it, Pakura cursed. Her bloodline limit was completely countered. Before the other ninjas' ninjutsu hit Moonlight Han, she had personally witnessed her scorching release strike him first. Unfortunately, none of them knew water release, otherwise, they could have used it to probe and find the weakness of this bloodline limit. The harsh environment of the Land of Wind still had some influence on the overall chakra attributes of their ninjas, though not absolute, but water-released ninjas were very rare. After rushing out of the compound fire jutsu and reloading his Barrett, Moonlight Han, under the influence of falling rocks and the hurricane's pull, tried several times to aim at the Sand Ninja, but each time he moved the gun barrel to aim at them, these prepared elite Sand Ninja evaded him with body flicker technique or substitution technique, hiding behind the earthen wall. The number of Sand Ninja also increased from 9 to more than 30, but in Moonlight Han's electronic eyes, there were still only 9 real Sand Ninja, the rest were all clones, PS, not shadow clones. Shadow clones are at least a B-rank ninjutsu of Konoha, and even though they are common, not all ninjas know them. Sand clones require the ability to manipulate sand to use, obstructing vision, affecting movement, releasing attacks, interfering with judgment, and always ready to dodge, truly worthy of being the elite of the Sand Ninja. Their ninjutsu and tactics are very well coordinated. And they even found a way to counter firearms so quickly. After several unsuccessful attempts to aim, Yu Guang'an couldn't help but sigh. After all, his movements were still at the level of a Jinan, and even after installing the T-800, his agility was inferior to that of an ordinary Jinan. Although the Sand Ninja couldn't dodge the bullets, they could anticipate and dodge based on Yu Guang'an's raised hand, provided the distance wasn't too far. Otherwise, due to the wide-angle effect, bullets traveling at nearly 2.5 times the speed of sound were simply impossible for them to avoid. Once hit, the corpses on the riverbank would be their next target. However, the dynamic observation capabilities of the electronic eyes were very strong, even the movements of Jonin couldn't escape its notice. Distance was its advantage. Just like the corpses lying on this riverbank, without intelligence, 9 out of 10 would have died before even reaching him, and they wouldn't have had a chance to escape into the forest. Yu Guang'an abandoned his plan to aim at these elite Sand Ninja and turned his gun to aim at the earth balls hurtling towards him and the earth dragon spitting out earth balls in the distance. Although he wasn't afraid of being hit by these high-speed earth balls, repairing his body consumed a lot of energy points. Bang 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 bang, 10 gunshots rang out in quick succession. The flying earth balls were blown apart, and the earth dragon head that was spitting earth balls was also shattered by the continuous bullets. P.S. Not all elite ninjas and Kage are might guy, and those bullet-like ninjutsu are not real bullets. Chapter 11 Trapped in a dire situation. Earth release, earth wall, several earthen walls rose again, this time even closer to Moonlight Han. The Sand Ninja had closed the 100-meter distance to 50 meters. Once they closed the distance to Moonlight Han to 10 meters, their firearms advantage would be suppressed, their speed advantage would be greatly enhanced, and they would be safer, even able to launch a surprise attack. Moonlight Han was also aware of the consequences of the Sand Ninja closing the distance. After shattering the Earth Ball and Earth Dragon Bullet, he cancelled the Barrett template and switched to the M249 light machine gun template. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat, the roar of the light machine gun replaced the thunder of the Barrett. The crimson bullets, like sparks flying when cutting steel, densely swept towards the constantly moving Sand Ninja 50 meters away. Precise aiming was unnecessary, simply sweeping across their bodies was enough. Earth release, earth wall, the Sand Ninja, who had been watching Yu Guang'an's hands closely, immediately noticed the change in them and were on high alert. As crimson bullets rained down from the gun barrels, they instantly used ninjutsu. A scream rang out. Despite their extreme caution and readiness, one Sand Ninja was struck by 2 bullets before the earthen wall could appear, crashing to the ground on the rocky riverbank. Although the 7.62mm standard bullets from the light machine gun didn't have the terrifying destructive power of Barrett bullets, They easily pierced the sand ninja's chest and abdomen, leaving 2 cherry-sized holes. This sand ninja was one of the sensory ninjas. The other sensory ninja had already permanently closed their eyes in the forest behind. Just as Yu Guanghan was about to fire a follow-up shot, the earthen wall rose up, blocking the next bullets, all in the blink of an eye. PFFT, 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 bullets struck the earthen wall, making PFFT, PFFT, PFFT sounds, sending fragments of stone flying. Hirota-kun, 2 ninjas nearby immediately rushed behind the earthen wall to help cover the wounded ninja's wounds. "It hurts so much? I've been shot through," Hirota said with difficulty, trying to turn over, but he didn't have enough strength. Although it was only 2 small holes, the cavity effect had already caused great damage to his internal body. The cavity effect has 2 types, near and far, with different principles and different results. The tumbling effect is when a bullet rolls after hitting a person due to change in direction. Hearing this, the 2 sand ninjas quickly covered the wounds on Hirota's chest and abdomen, while the other gently turned Hirota over. On Hirota's back, there were also 2 holes about the size of a thumb, constantly oozing blood. "Hirota-kun, you'll be alright. It's just 2 through holes," one sand ninja said, taking out herbs to help stop the bleeding. Gunfire continued. Learning from Hirota's example, under the dense barrage of bullets, for several seconds, the sand ninja dared only hide behind the earthen walls, no longer daring to expose themselves. However, they wouldn't simply sit and wait to die. Earth release, earth wall. Every few seconds, earthen walls would rise from the riverbank, one after another, each closer to Yu Guanghan than the last. The sand ninja moved behind each rising earthen wall, concealing themselves, relentlessly closing in on Yu Guanghan. Wind release, hurricane, but the approaching earthen walls weren't enough. Wave after wave of hurricanes and kunai bound with explosive tags rained down on Yu Guanghan, the explosions engulfing him, the hurricanes hindering his movements. Faced with the light machine guns, the sand ninja had devised a new, safer strategy. Faced with the sand ninja's relentless approach, Yu Guanghan grew increasingly anxious. In this situation, close combat was inevitable. The gap in raw strength between himself and elite ninjas, as well as his greatest weakness, agility, would be directly confronted by the enemy. Earth release, heart decapitation technique. Suddenly, a pair of hands grabbed Yu Guanghan's feet and pulled him to the ground. It turned out that the sand ninja had planned more than one countermeasure against Yu Guanghan. Seeing their comrade's successful sneak attack, the other sand ninja were overjoyed. The 2-meter-tall Junin immediately used body flicker technique to burst out from behind the earthen wall, which was only 10 or 20 meters away from Yu Guanghan, and rushed towards him at top speed. 10 or 20 meters was less than half a second for them. The other sand ninja were also rapidly forming hand seals. If the 2 Junin missed, they would immediately follow up with a finishing blow, determined to seize this opportunity to kill Yu Guanghan. Even Yakura had prepared a powerful wind release technique. Scorch release is a combination of wind and fire chakra. Because the enemy before them was far too dangerous, even the slightest carelessness could be fatal. Bang! Bang! 2 gunshots rang out, and Yu Guanghan's feet instantly transformed into Barrett rifles, firing. His hands, which had been pulling half of Yu Guanghan's body into the ground, helplessly released his Barrett transformed feet. But that was enough. Die! Half a second passed in the blink of an eye. The sand ninja Jonin, who was the first to reach Yu Guanghan, thrust his kunai fiercely into Yu Guanghan's forehead, where half his body was buried in the ground. Beast Wave Palm. Another sand ninja Jonin conjured a sharp wind blade in his hand, slashing towards Yu Guanghan's shoulders, aiming to sever his arms. These hands were the greatest threat to them. Even a 1% chance of a last-ditch counterattack could be fatal, absolutely not to be underestimated. 10 minutes earlier, in the forest about 5 miles away from where Yakura and the sand ninja had arrived. "Lord Minato, there's a battle ahead. There are 8 of them. Should we go?" A Yamanaka clan ninja with a single ponytail asked a handsome young ninja with blonde hair ahead of him. The blonde-haired ninja was none other than Minato Namikaze, a genius ninja of Konoha and a disciple of Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin. "It's probably Konoha ninja fighting sand ninjas," Minato Namikaze replied after a moment's thought, and sped off in the direction the Yamanaka clan ninja had indicated. The other Konoha ninjas quickly followed. Including Minato Namikaze, there were 10 of them, all elite ninjas. They were there because a Konoha spy embedded in the sand village had learned the location of a crucial sand village supply point. Orochimaru, the commander of the Sand Village battlefield, decisively dispatched 10 elite ninjas, including Minato Namikaze, to sabotage it. They had now completed their mission and were on their way back. P.S. Orochimaru competed with Minato Namikaze for the position of 4th Hokage and was the most popular candidate. During the Third Shinobi World War, Orochimaru served as a battlefield commander for a period of time in the early stages. However, due to some reasons, Orochimaru was not favored by the 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. In addition, Minato Namikaze rose rapidly, and Orochimaru was sidelined by Hiruzen Sarutobi during the later stages of the Third Shinobi World War. Chapter 12: A Hard-Won Victory. The kunai pierced Moonlight Hand's forehead, slicing through the skin and muscle, but instead produced a metallic scraping sound, like piercing steel, unable to penetrate further, only emitting a grating noise. The wind blade formed by the beast wave palm sliced through the muscles of Moonlight Hand's arm, but could not cut through the alloy skeleton of the T-800 robot inside him. The metallic texture of the cuts made the two Sand Ninja Jonin widen their eyes in disbelief. The crisis of death instantly enveloped them, making them feel as if they had fallen into an ice cave, a chill running down their spines. The dark muzzles of guns were already pointed at their chests. They wanted to escape, but it was too late. Bang, bang, 2 muffled gunshots rang out. While they were attacking, Moonlight Han was not idle. His hands were bent, and his forearms had transformed into Spa's 12 shotguns, the muzzles already pointed at their abdomens. Before they could even scream, the two Sand Ninja Jonin were sent flying backward by the powerful shrapnel. Although their bodies weren't pierced, the immense force of the shrapnel left 2 fist-sized holes in their chests, their internal organs reduced to pulp. Having killed the 2 attacking Sand Ninja Jonin, Moonlight Han breathed a sigh of relief. It had been truly dangerous. If they hadn't attacked him but instead restricted his movements, he would have been finished. Damn it, bastard, Baka, Yeru. Seeing 2 more comrades fall at the hands of the enemy before them, the remaining 6 Sand Ninja gritted their teeth and unleashed their prepared ninjutsu without hesitation. Wind Release, Wolf Fang, Wind Release, Wind Cutter, Earth Release, Earth Spear, Multiply by 2 Lightning Release, Lightning Tiger. The remaining Sand Ninja simultaneously unleashed Wind, Earth, and Lightning ninjutsu. Accompanying them were over a dozen kunai bound with explosive tags. Although the enemy was immune to fire ninjutsu, the explosion wasn't just about flames. Sharp earthen spears erupted from the ground surrounding Yu Guanghan, piercing him from all directions as he was half buried in the earth, blocking his escape routes. Thick, sharp wind spears descended from the sky, aiming directly for Yu Guanghan's head, also blocking his escape routes. A lightning-fast Thunder Tiger struck with even greater speed, aimed straight for Yu Guanghan's chest. Even if it couldn't kill him instantly, it would paralyze him, leaving him helpless. His neck was severed by a giant wind blade imbued with powerful chakra, like a high-pressure gust of wind. Facing the Sand Ninja's ninjutsu, Yu Guanghan didn't dodge, nor could he. He simply raised his arms, palms protecting his head and arms protecting his neck, and received the Sand Ninja's attack. Crack! Crack! The earthen spear struck Yu Guanghan, piercing his skin and muscles, but ultimately it was the earthen spear that broke, though it had restrained Yu Guanghan's body. With a thunderous roar, the Thunder Tiger pounced on Moonlight Hand's chest, but was ultimately absorbed into his body like river water returning to the embrace of Mother Ocean, causing no harm whatsoever. Instead, it replenished Moonlight Hand's stored energy points by over 100. The final wind release techniques, Wolf Fang and Wind Cutter, arrived. The drill-like wind release spear spun straight at Moonlight Hand's hands, protecting his head, completely enveloping him. A massive, rapid gust of wind slashed at Moonlight Hand's arms, protecting his neck. Intense, tiny wind blades continuously scraped away at the flesh on Moonlight Hand's face and body. Finally, a kunai bound with explosive tags was fired, unleashing a violent explosion. Smoke and dust billowed, and the wind released sand and stones swirled wildly. The Sand Ninja, watching the smoke and dust kicked up by the explosion and the wind release, Wolf Fang, finally breathed a sigh of relief. They saw all the ninjutsu hit the enemy. They saw the earth spear pierce the enemy's body, immobilizing him. They saw the lightning tiger pounce, and the enemy merely raised his hand to defend. They even saw 2A-rank wind release techniques strike the enemy. Under such circumstances and attacks, this troublesome enemy couldn't possibly survive, or even have a complete corpse. Mission complete, Ye King said sorrowfully. There was no joy in completing the mission. Hearing Yi Kang announce the mission's end, none of the sand ninjas showed a smile. They too were filled with sorrow. Sorrow for the hundreds of sand ninja who had died on this riverbank. If they had paid attention to the information on those 3 Jinan earlier, so many comrades wouldn't have died here. They were sorrowful. To kill this Konoha ninja whose name they didn't even know, they had lost most of their manpower. Their comrades, with whom they had spent so much time, the 15-man elite ninja team, were now reduced to 7, one of whom was seriously injured, and 3 of the 4 Jonin were dead. Gather the bodies of our fallen comrades and take them back for burial, Yekung said, walking dejectedly towards the heavily wounded comrade lying behind the earthen wall. The other sand ninja also suppressed their grief and went to the riverbank littered with sand ninja corpses to begin collecting them. Rat-a-tat-tat, the sound of a light machine gun rang out in the still lingering dust. Bang bang, the roar of a Barrett rifle echoed through the forest once more. In the sand ninja's stunned and terrified gaze, a torrent of metal shot out from the dust in the blink of an eye, piercing through the bodies of 2 of them, leaving jets of blood. The 2 comrades who went to collect the bodies on the other side also had longer jets of blood spurting out, their bodies flying several meters away, with several fist-sized bloody holes in their bodies. The enemy isn't dead. How is this possible? The moment they heard the sound, a terrifying and panicked thought flashed through Yekung and the other sand ninjas' minds. They couldn't believe it, but their bodies had already moved instinctively at lightning speed, not daring to stop even for a blink of an eye. Unfortunately, neither of them knew Earth release, and in the smoke and dust, they couldn't predict Moonlight Hand's gun barrel. They could only keep moving around, hoping for the best. That was close. Almost it was over. Moonlight Han, who had emerged from the ground and revealed his T-800 alloy robot body, was sweating profusely in the smoke and dust. After the flames from the explosion subsided, Moonlight Han activated his infrared electronic eyes, his hands transformed into light machine guns, and his feet into Barrett rifles. He sat on the riverbank, continuously firing. Just moments before, the sand ninja's wind release, Wolf Fang had scraped away all of Moonlight Han's muscles and skin, completely exposing the T-800 alloy robot beneath. Yekira's wind release, Wind Cutter had nearly severed Moonlight Han's alloy hands, and his alloy neckbone had been cut in half. Moonlight Han had only just repaired his T-800 alloy skeleton. However, Yu Guanghan didn't want to leave the smoke and dust now. He didn't want anyone to see him in his current state, even someone on the verge of death. Besides, he actually had an advantage in the smoke and dust. The sand ninja didn't have Byakugan and couldn't see his movements within it. This would be an effective tactic in the future. Earth release, Earth wall. A wall of earth suddenly rose on the riverbank. It turned out to be the sand ninja sensory ninja who had been severely injured earlier. He had forced himself to use the earth wall. This might be the last ninjutsu he would use. However, the earth wall didn't block his way, but instead rose beside Yekira, who was constantly dodging and moving, blocking her. He exposed himself to protect Yekira. The earth wall has a distance limit, depending on the ninja. Yekira had come to check on the sensory ninja's injuries earlier, at a relatively close distance. Barrett could penetrate a normal earth wall, but the protagonist hasn't done so yet. Wind release, Hurricane Assault, another sand ninja, constantly dodging, formed hand seals. A terrifying tornado swept up a large amount of gravel and sand from the riverbank, carrying it towards the smoke and dust that obscured the enemy and blocked the direction of the earthen barrier. However, this also made his ninjutsu less agile, and even his speed slowed down. It's over. Seeing the sand ninja's movement slow down and become less agile, Moonlight Han sighed inwardly, and his right foot, transformed into Barrett, aimed at him. Bang! A gunshot rang out, and the bullet struck the sand ninja, who was using wind release, great breakthrough, in the chest, opening a large hole in his back. His body was thrown several meters away. Chapter 13 Minato Namikaze. Watching her last comrade perish tragically, and now, having checked on her wounded companion, the distance between her and the enemy had once again exceeded 50 meters. The enemy was now attacking from within the smoke and dust, making it impossible to predict their movements, let alone pinpoint their location. Mission utterly failed, without the cooperation and cover of her comrades, without the advantage of distance, without the initiative to predict the enemy, and with her own scorching release countered and unable to use earth release. Yekira knew that unless a large number of sand ninja arrived with strong reinforcements, she would have no chance to kill the enemy hidden in the smoke and dust today. Weighing the pros and cons, Yekira gritted her teeth and, taking advantage of the earth wall's cover and the interference of the tornado, turned and rushed quickly into the forest. This was an escape opportunity bought for her by her comrades sacrificing their lives. She had to bring back detailed information about the enemy. Whether it was the heavily wounded sand ninja who used the earth wall or the sand ninja who used the hurricane assault, they all chose to sacrifice their lives to cover Yekira's escape. Watching Yekira flee, Yu Guanghan neither fired again nor gave chase. When Moonlight Man first told them about the third Kazukage's death at Sasori's hands, he actually wanted them to take the information back. Only one person was needed, and the strongest, Pakura, was undoubtedly the most suitable. Captain Minato, there's only one person in the smoke. He killed so many sand ninja. The corpses must be over 100. The one who escaped is Pakura, an elite sand jonin. That guy in the smoke is really fierce. So many sand ninja attacked him, yet he still managed to kill over 100. Only the renowned Pakura could escape, but we've never heard of anyone this fierce in the village. Minato Namikaze and the other Konoha ninja, who had just arrived, were hiding on the edge of the forest opposite the river. They stared in astonishment at the more than 100 sand ninja corpses lying on the riverbank, discussing quietly. Their gazes couldn't help but drift towards Minato Namikaze, who was leading the group, and they couldn't help but compare them. This is a stronger ninja than me. Seeing the other ninja's gazes, Minato Namikaze said seriously, however, Konoha doesn't attack such strangely strong individuals like this. Be careful, the guy in the smoke is probably not a Konoha ninja. They had heard strange noises and explosions here before, but by the time they arrived, the smoke had obscured Yu Guanghan. They only saw the last few sand ninjas die mysteriously and Pakura flee. However, limited information didn't prevent them from making deductions. The distance was too far, the bullets too small, the speed too fast. Even Minato Namikaze couldn't see clearly. The person in the smoke is out, said the Yamanaka ninja in charge of sensing, interrupting the others' whispers. It's a child. The next moment, everyone's eyes widened, even Minato Namikaze's. Is it a sand ninja? Or a Konoha ninja? Yu Guanghan emerged from the smoke, thinking to himself, without immediately attacking. After stripping a new set of clothes from the sand ninja's corpse and putting them on, Yu Guanghan pulled out a kunai and walked towards the heavily wounded sand ninja lying on the ground, while secretly glancing at the distant forest. Hell! Watching Yu Guanghan approach with a kunai, the sand ninja let out a panting hell, glaring at him with hatred. His lungs had been punctured, hence the panting, but he was definitely laughing. PFFT, seeing the sand ninja's condition, Yu Guanghan frowned, crouched down, and plunged the kunai into the sand ninja's forehead, ending his life. He secretly glanced again at the heat source in the distant forest. After finishing him off, Yu Guanghan first put on his Konoha headband, then began collecting the headbands and supplies from the dead sand ninja, slowly moving towards the forest. While collecting supplies, his eyes always subtly glanced towards the forest where the heat source was. We've been spotted. Everyone be careful, Minato Namikaze whispered to the others. Once or twice, Minato Namikaze didn't notice, but as the incidents repeated and Moonlight Han seemed to be intentionally collecting loot towards the forest, Minato realized they had been discovered. Hearing Minato's words, the other Konoha ninja silently nodded. This kind of powerful individual capable of single-handedly defeating so many sand ninja was indeed someone to be very careful with. Even though they were 200 meters away from Moonlight Han, no one knew what methods he possessed. 200 meters might be covered in seconds. But just as they finished nodding, Minato had vanished. The Konoha ninja quickly looked up and searched, only to find that Minato had already rapidly moved towards him, covering the 100-meter distance in the blink of an eye. The remaining Konoha ninja were speechless and hid even more carefully. You are Moonlight Han. When he was only 30 meters away from Moonlight Han, Minato stopped, looking at him in surprise, and asked with astonishment and uncertainty. He knew Gecko Han, even was familiar with him. They met on the street when Gecko Han was only 9 years old and still studying at the Ninja Academy. Gecko Han complimented Kushina on her beautiful red hair, expressing his envy, which made Kushina very happy, leading to their acquaintance. After several encounters, they gradually became familiar with each other and even chatted occasionally. Gecko Han's demeanor left a deep impression on him. He seemed like a little adult. Gecko Han usually trained intensely with Might Guy, who was 4 years younger than him, almost without fail, demonstrating his immense dedication. They considered each other kindred spirits. Konoha had over 20,000 ninjas, When Gekko-han was about to graduate, he even observed him for a period of time. When the third Hokage assigned him to lead a class of Jinan, he immediately wanted to take Gekko-han as his disciple, given his familiarity and hard work. Unfortunately, despite his immense effort, Yu Guanghan's talent was simply too poor. He was utterly unsuitable to be a ninja. This led him to abandon the idea of taking him as a disciple and even consider persuading him not to become a ninja. Later, war broke out, and the plans to take him as a disciple and the persuasion fell through. Now, Yu Guanghan is 12 years old and just graduated from the Ninja Academy this year. He forms a Jinan team with 2 other commoner Jinan who graduated at the same time, and their instructor is an experienced Chunin. It is precisely because of his relentless hard work that his strength has barely kept pace with the ranks of commoner ninjas of his age, demonstrating his lack of talent but his strong will and determination. So it's Brother Minato. I thought it was a sand ninja. Seeing Namoka's Minato standing before him, Yu Guanghan breathed a sigh of relief, lowering his hand, which had transformed into an M249 light machine gun. However, Yu Guanghan's voice was extremely cold, even icy, because he was using a robotic voice. "Did you kill all these people?" Namoka's Minato asked, looking at Yu Guanghan in surprise. At the same time, he cautiously glanced at Yu Guanghan's hand, which had transformed into a strange weapon. It was precisely because he felt that hand, now a strange weapon, pointed at him that he felt a sense of danger and stopped 30 meters away. The current Yu Guanghan was truly unrecognizable from the Yu Guanghan he knew. This strength couldn't be described by mere talent. Even Kakashi, Konoha's most talented ninja, wouldn't possess this level of strength at his age, let alone the Yu Guanghan of the past, whose talent was extremely poor in every aspect, almost at the bottom among ninjas. "Yes, I've been lying in ambush here for 5 days." Upon hearing this, Yu Guanghan simply said calmly, "I awakened my bloodline limit. After the news of my parents' deaths reached me, I sold my family's house a month later and applied to go to the battlefield." Kakashi wasn't originally in Minato's team. Kakashi graduated at 6, not in the same class as Obito and Rin. Before joining Minato's team, Kakashi had formed several teams with other Jinan, but was repeatedly ostracized due to his unpleasant personality. He joined Minato's team only after his peers graduated from ninja training. Chapter 14 Return to Konoha Camp. "I'm sorry," Minato Namokaze said apologetically. "I was very worried about you after I learned that your parents had died in battle, but unfortunately, I couldn't be left on the battlefield," Moonlight Han said coldly. "Brother Minato, even during this war, you're still so sentimental. I still prefer your sunny self, like a little son. Kushina was with you because of that. You don't need to apologize to me. The people who killed my parents were sand ninja." With that, Moonlight Han tossed something to Minato. Minato caught it. It was a specially made 3-pronged kunai. Although it didn't have the Flying Thunder God technique, it had his signature on it. Moonlight Han had persistently asked him for it and even had him sign it. "Moonlight Han, you're still so smart. Come back to camp with us," Minato said, revealing a sunny smile. His previous conversation was his true feelings, but it was also a test, as Moonlight Han had changed so much, both in strength and personality. The conversation and the kunai in his hand confirmed Yu Guanghan's identity. Although he had changed a lot, he was certain it was indeed Yu Guanghan. Yu Guanghan hummed softly and said, "One sand ninja escaped before, so we can't continue our ambush here. Besides, my information has been leaked, so it's really time to go back." "Do you know who the sand ninja who escaped was?" Minato asked with a smile. "No, and I'm not interested in knowing. I'm going to collect my spoils." "Brother Minato, let everyone else come out. No need to hide anymore," Yu Guanghan said coldly, continuing to collect the headbands of the dead sand ninja. "Whether you're interested or not, you're going to become famous, very famous." The sand ninja who escaped was a hero of the sand ninja, an elite Chunin, the scorching release, Pakura, Minato said with a smile, watching Yu Guanghan's short figure rummaging through the sand ninja's corpses, while gesturing towards the distant forest. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Lord Minato, at Minato's beckoning, 9 Konoha ninjas hidden in the forest rushed out and arrived at his side. Their eyes widened in astonishment as they watched Gekko-han rummaging through the sand ninja corpses. This was clearly a student who had just graduated from the Ninja Academy. "He's Gekko-han, a ninja from our Konoha, a Jinan who just graduated this year. He's not an enemy," Minato said to the others. "This guy's a Jinan." Hearing Minato's words, The other Konoha ninjas didn't know what expression to make. What village's Jinan could single-handedly kill over 100 sand ninjas, forcing even the sand ninja hero Pakura to run away. He must be an out-of-control Jinchuuriki. He is indeed a Jinan who just graduated from our Konoha. I've known him for several years, Minato explained with a smile, seeing everyone's expressions. Hearing this, the other Konoha ninjas exchanged glances, suddenly feeling a strong sense of having been cheated out of their lives. Alright, we'll discuss Moonlight Hand's matter at the camp. Seeing everyone's expressions, Minato Namikaze smiled and continued, now, everyone, help examine the bodies. Yes. Upon hearing this, the 9 Konoha ninjas immediately responded, suppressing their curiosity, and began helping to clean up the battlefield. Han, I'll vouch for you when we get back to camp. Minato Namikaze came to Moonlight Hand's side, helping to turn over the sand ninjas' bodies while saying to Moonlight Han, after Pakura of the sand ninja escaped this time, your information will definitely be taken seriously by the sand ninja. In the future, on the battlefield, the sand ninja will definitely target you. You must be careful on the battlefield from now on. I know. Upon hearing this, Moonlight Han examined the items on the sand ninjas' bodies on the ground while saying, suppressing the geniuses of other ninja villages, isn't that something all ninja villages have always enjoyed? Compared to death, I'm more afraid of them hiding from me. The death of Han's parents was a huge blow to Han. Upon hearing this, Minato Namikaze thought to himself, paused for a moment, and said, Han, you weren't like this before. I don't want my friend to be consumed by hatred. Upon hearing this, Moonlight Han shook his head. The world I saw lost its color after the news of my parents' deaths came back. Now, all that's left is gray and white. Han, besides your parents, you still have your confidant guy, Kushina, me, and other friends, classmates, and other relatives in your clan. Moreover, I believe your parents wouldn't want to see you like this either. Minato Namikaze continued, everyone hopes that you can get out of that gray world as soon as possible and see the colorful world again. I'm almost done packing. Moonlight Han didn't respond to Minato Namikaze's words. After putting the explosive tags he found on the sand ninja corpses into his pocket, he got up and walked to the place where he had hidden the sand ninja headbands, and wrapped all the spoils he had collected in a large cloth bag. Sigh. Watching Yu Guanghan's departing figure, Minato Namikaze sighed. He knew it would take a long time to persuade Yu Guanghan, just as it would take a long time to persuade anyone who had experienced the same grief. Ultimately, it depended on Yu Guanghan himself to emerge from his sorrow and hatred. So many sand ninja headbands. When Yu Guanghan took out all the sand ninja headbands, the Konoha ninjas, except for Minato Namikaze, widened their eyes. There must be 200. This Yu Guanghan had killed more sand ninjas than they had imagined. Moreover, they had already found the bodies of 8 sand jonin in the pile of corpses. Konoha had truly produced another terrifying genius. The journey was silent. Although the other Konoha ninjas wanted to get closer to Yu Guanghan and make his acquaintance, his coldness still made them somewhat uncomfortable. After hearing Minato Namikaze's explanation, they no longer blamed or complained about Yu Guanghan. Instead, they all tried to cheer him up indirectly. A few laughs broke out on the returning group. But throughout the entire journey, Moonlight Han didn't show the slightest smile. No matter what he said, his voice remained cold and indifferent. Han, wait here for me a moment. I need to report on the mission. After returning to the camp, they hadn't walked far before arriving at a simple wooden hut when Minato Namikaze said to Moonlight Han. Since Moonlight Han wasn't from this camp, he had nowhere to go, and he also needed to report on Moonlight Han's situation. Reporting on the previous mission wasn't suitable to take Moonlight Han along, so he had to ask Moonlight Han to wait. I'll wait for you here, brother Minato. Hearing this, Moonlight Han nodded. He casually found a place to sit down. He currently had less than 400 energy points left. If he used them carefully, it should barely be enough to support him in a fierce battle. He needed to find a way to replenish his energy. While ambushing the sand ninja, although there was some energy depletion, there was also replenishment. Besides sunbathing, Moonlight Han also replenished his energy points using lightning release ninjutsu. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15: The Ninjas of the Moonlight Clan. You are Han, A surprised voice suddenly rang out in front of Yu Guanghan as he pondered. What? It's that little guy, it's Han, it really is Han, he's alive, that's wonderful! Exclamations of surprise, disbelief, and relief filled the air. A dozen or so Konoha ninjas who happened to be passing by immediately surrounded Yu Guanghan. It's Uncle Hoshino? Hearing the voices around him, Yu Guanghan looked up at the middle-aged man leading the group and said coldly. Yu Guang Hoshino, the father of Yu Guanghe, was also the head of the Yu Guang clan and one of only 2 Jonin in the clan. Yu Guanghe was only 4 years old. Sigh. The deaths of Wenai and Mizi have been a much bigger blow to this child than I imagined. Hearing Yu Guanghan's calm, even cold, voice, Yu Guang Hoshino fell silent. He couldn't help but sigh inwardly, feeling sorry for Yu Guanghan. Moonlight Dai is Moonlight Han's father, a mere chunin in strength, and his status within the clan is unremarkable except for being a ninja. Maiko is Moonlight Han's mother, full name Moonlight Maiko, formerly known as Tomoyuki Maiko. She was also a commoner ninja, a chunin, but a medical ninja, with combat strength even lower than a chunin, and her status was similarly ordinary. Moonlight Han's parents were very ordinary in the clan, even their social interactions were unremarkable. However, Moonlight Han was very popular within the clan, a minor celebrity. His young age naturally made him likable, and aside from his lack of natural talent, he was a hard-working, diligent, sweet-talking, polite, and helpful child, acting like a little adult. Everyone in the clan knew Moonlight Han well, and some members of the Moonlight clan, such as the clan head Moonlight Hoshino, knew him even better than his parents. Of course, this is also due to the fact that Yu Guanghan knew his talent was very poor back then, and he probably didn't have any cheat abilities, so he valued interpersonal relationships very much. Han, it's so good that you're alright. I heard from the logistics ninjas that you applied to go to the battlefield, and we were so worried. Yu Guangzingai patted Yu Guanghan's shoulder, not minding his flat and cold voice, and said with a smile, later we heard that you disappeared on the battlefield, and even thought you were dead. Your Aunt Huzi was heartbroken for a long time. It's so good to see that you're alright now. Yes. You brat, you made me shed so many tears back then, the female ninja behind Yu Guangzingai said angrily with her hands on her hips. It made me so angry. This is war, everyone else is trying to avoid it, and you brat applied to go to the battlefield yourself. Are you, a newly graduated Jinan, here to die? Yeah, you brat. When we heard you were missing, we thought you were dead. The others started complaining, but their words were full of concern for Yu Guanghan. I'm sorry to have worried Aunt Huzi and everyone else, Yu Guanghan said apologetically. Yu Guanghuzi, Yu Guanghoshino's wife, is an elite chunin. Han, Lord Orochimaru wants to see you. Just as Yu Guanghan didn't know how to deal with the concern and worry of his clansmen, Namikaze Minato appeared in time to save him. Lord Minato, upon seeing Namikaze Minato, Yu Guanghoshino and the other Yu Guang clan members immediately stopped tormenting Yu Guanghan and quickly greeted him. Namikaze Minato is an elite Jonin and a disciple of Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin, possessing both high status and strength. I'm sorry, clan head Hoshino, and everyone in the Yu Guang clan, Lord Orochimaru wants to see Yu Guanghan. I'll take Han to see Lord Orochimaru first, Namikaze Minato said to Yu Guanghoshino with a smile. Of course, no problem. Upon hearing this, Hoshino quickly said with a smile, Lord Minato, may I inquire with you whether Han has committed any wrongdoing? If so, I hope Lord Minato can lend a hand. He's a good child, his parents both sacrificed their lives on the battlefield. In Hoshino's view, Han had just become a Jinan, his strength was low, and it was his first time on the battlefield. It was impossible for him to have made any great contributions, more likely, he had committed some serious mistake. Considering Han's previous disappearance and his recent return, he feared that Han had been captured as a deserter or taken by enemy ninjas and had only just been rescued, now awaiting interrogation and judgment. He was even prepared to personally plead for him. He only hoped to save Han's life. Clan Chief Hoshino, there's no need to worry. Han's disappearance was merely a wandering, and Han has killed many enemies and made considerable contributions. It's impossible for him to have deserted or betrayed us, Minato said with a smile. He led Han towards the command post's wooden hut. You've killed many enemies and made considerable contributions. Upon hearing this, the Moonlight Clan ninjas exchanged glances, wanting to ask more questions. However, Minato Namikaze had already left with Moonlight Han, Leaving them to wait for him to emerge, Moonlight Han followed Minato Namikaze into Orochimaru's command post, the same wooden hut Minato had entered earlier. As soon as he entered, Moonlight Han felt a curious gaze fixed on him. Only Orochimaru was inside. Lord Orochimaru, Minato Namikaze respectfully addressed Orochimaru, who was watching Moonlight Han with interest at the wooden table. Moonlight Han has been brought. Thank you for your hard work, Minato-kun, Orochimaru said with a smile, his gaze returning to Moonlight Han. However, Orochimaru's smile carried a sinister undertone. Minato Namikaze, accustomed to Orochimaru's sinister smile, didn't find it problematic and simply smiled in response. Minato said, you've awakened a new bloodline limit. Show me, Orochimaru said with a commanding smile to Gekko-han. He already knew from Minato's report that Gekko-han's previous strength was only at the level of an ordinary Genin. Orochimaru was genuinely curious about this powerful bloodline limit that allowed Gekko-han, a recently graduated Genin, to kill hundreds of Sand Ninja, including 10 Jonin, and even force Pakura, who used the scorching release, to flee. Minato was equally curious as he looked at Gekko-han. He had only seen the hand that could transform into a strange weapon, and even he could instinctively sense danger. The attack speed seemed incredibly fast and unpredictable, but he didn't know what the ability or effect was. At that time, the distance was too far, and the battle was already over. Chapter 16 Alchemy Bloodline Limit. The name Alchemy Bloodline Limit is derived from the novel Fullmetal Alchemist. I'd be delighted, Lord Orochimaru, Moonlight Han said respectfully, though his voice remained cold and hoarse, devoid of any emotion. Regarding his technological template, after deciding to return to Konoha's camp with Minato Namikaze, Moonlight Han had already anticipated the possible scenarios and prepared his responses and explanations. This included, of course, the most predictable situation. Then I'll wait and see, Orochimaru said with a smile. He simply watched Moonlight Han, clearly expecting him to demonstrate. Lord Orochimaru, I've named my bloodline limit alchemy, Moonlight Han quickly said, understanding Orochimaru's meaning, raising his right hand towards the wooden wall beside the hut and transforming his arm into a shotgun. When Orochimaru saw Wang Han's hand transform into a shotgun, his pupils constricted sharply. He hadn't even witnessed the transformation of Wang Han's hand into a strange weapon. Who was he? He was Orochimaru, the third Hokage's most prized disciple and one of the legendary Sannin. He hadn't even caught a glimpse of the transformation. Beside him, Minato Namikaze was equally astonished. Even with his lightning-fast reflexes and dynamic vision, he hadn't seen the slightest change. It was as if the transformation of Wang Han's hand had occurred in an instant, or as if Wang Han's right hand had always been like that. However, their memories clearly told them that the transformation of Wang Han's right hand was something their eyes hadn't been able to capture. This speed alone was enough to demonstrate that this bloodline limit was absolutely powerful. If it were weak, then the person possessing it must be trash. Alchemy bloodline limit, indeed a powerful bloodline limit. Han-kun, quickly demonstrate its abilities to us, Orochimaru said expectantly, licking his lips. He was becoming increasingly interested in this new bloodline limit. Yes, Moonlight Han nodded and fired a shot at the wooden wall beside him. Bang! The silent yet loud sound of the shotgun rang out, carrying far beyond the command post in the wooden hut. Bang! The wall of the wooden hut groaned like a door being broken down, sending large pieces of wood flying everywhere, leaving a crater the size of a bowl. If the hut hadn't been built of tree trunks, it would probably have been riddled with holes the size of a bowl. Lord Orochimaru, an unusually loud noise rang out, and several ninjas guarding outside the wooden hut rushed in the blink of an eye. Disturbed, Orochimaru waved his hand at the ninjas who rushed in and ordered, "Nothing's wrong here. Go back to guard. No one is allowed in without my order. It's very powerful, and it's a no-seal ninjutsu. The attack speed is extremely fast. At close range, if hit, most ninjas, except for a few, will be crippled or killed. Even Jonin would have a hard time dodging this swift attack unless they anticipate it and prepare in advance. However, at long range, while the attack range is larger, it's also more dispersed, and the landing point is difficult to control. The damage is much less. This is an attack technique only suitable for close-quarters combat," Orochimaru commented after carefully observing the crater in the wooden wall for a while. It must be said that Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sannin, is not only a genius but also very experienced. He was able to analyze the advantages and disadvantages of most shotguns after only one demonstration. Minato Namikaze nodded, his analysis echoing the sentiment. I'm sure Hanjun has developed other techniques for this new bloodline limit. Otherwise, he couldn't have defeated over a dozen elite sand ninja, including Yakira. After witnessing the shotgun, Orochimaru's gaze grew increasingly interested and expectant. Hearing this, Yu Guanghan didn't waste any words. He immediately transformed his right hand into an M24 light machine gun and pulled the trigger against the wooden wall. Rat-a-tat-tat, the crisp, continuous gunfire echoed throughout the wooden house and carried far beyond. The surrounding ninjas curiously watched the command post built in the wooden house, but under Orochimaru's orders, no one was allowed to enter. PFFT PFFT PFFT, inside the wooden house, the tree trunk walls were riddled with bullet fragments, making a thudding sound. Shells turned to stone and fell to the ground like beans being sifted. Finger-thick round holes appeared continuously on the wooden walls. After firing over 30 bullets, Yu Guanghan stopped. After all, this wasn't a battle, just a demonstration. There was no need to waste energy points. Clap clap clap, what an amazing bloodline limit. Orochimaru couldn't help but clap his hands, full of praise, looking at the dense holes on the wooden stake. Yu Guanghan's bloodline limit was truly astonishing. The second attack was more concentrated than the first, with much greater destructive power at mid to long range, and the frequency and speed of the attack were also much faster. Even against Junin, it was basically a suppressive advantage at mid to long range. No wonder Yu Guanghan, who was only a Jinan, could kill so many sand ninjas. But that wasn't enough. The sand ninjas weren't alone. They were enemies who could counterattack and defend, and they would definitely find Yu Guanghan's weaknesses and devise suitable tactics to deal with him. Yu Guanghan must have even more amazing moves that allowed him to fight those sand ninjas' techniques head-on. Han Kun must have even more praiseworthy moves, Orochimaru said with a smile, his eyes filled with anticipation. Hearing this, Yu Guanghan fell silent. Having experienced countless battles, Gekkoha knew his limitations. He knew it was impossible to kill so many sand ninja unscathed with just a shotgun and light machine gun. His dilemma was whether to reveal his Barrett rifle or his physical abnormalities. Both were currently his trump cards. Seeing the silent Gekkohan, Orochimaru guessed what he was hesitating about, and his anticipation intensified. He even began to wonder what kind of trump card Gekkohan possessed to achieve such a feat. After a moment's hesitation, Gekkohan made his decision and immediately drew a kunai, slashing at his own forearm. Han Kun, what are you doing? Minato Namikaze tried to stop him, seeing Gekkohan about to harm himself. Minato-kun, Han Kun is demonstrating for us, Orochimaru said with a smile, stopping Minato. He looked at Gekkohan expectantly. Chapter 17 I Only Forgive Geniuses. This is, Orochimaru stared in shock and delight at Yu Guanghan's actions, at the sight of Yu Guanghan slicing open his own forearm. His gaze was intensely fixed on Yu Guanghan. Instead of blood streaming down Yu Guanghan's forearm, the cut was covered in a dark gray substance that seemed to wriggle. The wound was healing at a visible speed, and through the unhealed wound, they could see the steel beneath Yu Guanghan's muscles, metal that seemed to have replaced bone. At this moment, Orochimaru even made several predictions about Yu Guanghan's future abilities, one of which filled him with envy and jealousy, the immortality he himself sought. Some people are born with what others only dream of. At this moment, Orochimaru's gaze towards Yu Guanghan changed, as if he were seeing the future of his life. A strong hope shone in his eyes, like the hope in the eyes of the children he had bewitched, an expectation for the future. This, Minato Namikaze was also stunned. No wonder Moonlight Han could kill so many sand ninja with only Jinan's strength and emerge unscathed, Minato Namikaze understood. No wonder Moonlight Han was naked back then. With this ability, although not immortal, killing Moonlight Han was beyond the capabilities of ordinary ninjutsu and attacks. On the contrary, Moonlight Han's attacks were extremely dangerous and difficult to defend against. Seeing Orochimaru's gaze, Moonlight Han was helpless. Orochimaru had begun his forbidden experiments, pursuing immortality. Revealing his T-800 skeleton and blood robot trump card was undoubtedly a great temptation for Orochimaru, which was indeed very disadvantageous to him. But this was also a helpless move. He knew his own situation. He only had the strength of a Jinan, enough to kill enemies, but not enough to protect himself. Barrett is merely an attack template. It doesn't guarantee survival against the overwhelming force of the Sand Ninja. Revealing Barrett would be redundant, Orochimaru would undoubtedly continue questioning him. After all, Orochimaru is the overall commander of this battlefield, While I'm just a Jinan, I can't be easily fooled by a few words from the already intrigued Orochimaru. For Orochimaru, the commander of the Sand Ninja battlefield, making an unknown Jinan disappear is far too easy. Therefore, rather than hiding and being secretly eliminated, it's better to expose myself, placing myself in the eyes of the higher-ups. This would also give me a legitimate reason to participate in more major Sand Ninja battles, and with my technological template, my trump cards will only grow. I also hope that the trump cards I reveal are attractive enough that Orochimaru will take them seriously, be reluctant to part with them, and suppress his impulse, at least until I've taken my revenge. Orochimaru hasn't yet developed the immortal reincarnation technique. Hanjun's bloodline limit truly astonishes me. After much thought, Orochimaru smiled and said to Yu Guanghan, Hanjun's powerful bloodline limit is enough to prove your merit and innocence. I don't want merit. I want to keep the Sand Ninja headband I obtained to offer as a sacrifice to the spirits of my parents who died in battle, Yu Guanghan said without hesitation. On the chaotic and perilous battlefield, when no one can prove your merit, the enemy's corpses and spoils of war are the only way to prove it, even if you found the headband and the corpses. Hanjun shouldn't receive merit for wanting to keep the Sand Ninja headband, but since I'm the commander-in-chief of the battlefield, Orochimaru chuckled, Hanjun, feel free to use the Sand Ninja headband you obtained to offer as a sacrifice to your parents. I won't erase your merit. Orochimaru's intention was actually to curry favor with Yu Guanghan, and in his name no less. I can vouch for Yu Guanghan's merits. My team and I have examined the bodies of those Sand Ninja, and they were all killed by Yu Guanghan. We've also confirmed the identities of some of the Jonin, Minato Namikaze said from the side. Although Minato saw through Orochimaru's attempt to curry favor, he didn't say anything. First, he wasn't rigid, he had no right to advise Yu Guanghan to give up his efforts to mourn his parents. Second, he genuinely hoped Yu Guanghan could gain this merit, as it was a significant one. Yu Guanghan had told him on the way back that he had sold everything of value in his home, including the house, for revenge. With Minato's testimony, that's even better, Orochimaru said with a smile, then asked, Hong-kun, how about becoming my disciple? Orochimaru's smile lacked its usual sinister quality. Clearly, he was very serious. Huh? Yu Guanghan was somewhat bewildered by Orochimaru's smile. Orochimaru was taking him as a disciple, and with such a serious expression. Beside him, Minato Namikaze was stunned upon hearing Orochimaru's words, then understood. A genius like Gekko Han was indeed enough to tempt Orochimaru, even he was tempted. Han-kun, become my disciple, and I will definitely train you into an outstanding and powerful ninja, Orochimaru said again. Hearing this, Gekko Han wanted to immediately agree, but he held back. After all, Orochimaru was far too dangerous. Gekko Han's mind raced. Orochimaru wanted to take him as a disciple, his interest piqued, but it was definitely not genuine. Orochimaru would indeed teach him diligently, but he definitely had ulterior motives. Regarding Orochimaru's motives, Gekko Han considered two possibilities. One was that Orochimaru wanted to research his bloodline limits, and taking him as a disciple would indeed make it easier for him to research them, even allowing him to do so legitimately. Secondly, the original work states that Orochimaru participated in the competition for the fourth Hokage position. Even the third Hokage initially favored Orochimaru to become the fourth Hokage. Now that the competition has begun, and the Third Shinobi World War is the stage for this competition, having a powerful disciple who can be quickly trained would undoubtedly be a significant asset for Orochimaru in his bid for the fourth Hokage position. Once Orochimaru becomes Hokage, this disciple would be a powerful ally, perhaps even his right-hand man. Of course, other reasons that Gekko Han might not have considered cannot be ruled out. I'm sorry, Lord Orochimaru, although your offer is very tempting, I have already found a path that suits me. After much consideration, Gekko Han ultimately declined Orochimaru's offer. While becoming Orochimaru's disciple has advantages, making things much easier and allowing him to do things ordinary ninjas cannot, it also has many drawbacks. Firstly, Yu Guanghan knew very well how poor his ninja talent was, he was simply not cut out for it. He could only absorb so much from Orochimaru's teachings. And becoming Orochimaru's disciple would expose his greatest secret, the risk was too great. Secondly, Yu Guanghan possessed the technological template cheat code, and had the mindset of a modern person bombarded by the internet. The technological template was his best and only way out. Thirdly, as for the convenience he might gain from becoming Orochimaru's disciple, once Orochimaru defected, It would only bring more trouble. Hearing this, although he was somewhat displeased by Yu Guanghan's blunt refusal, Orochimaru quickly forgot his displeasure compared to his eagerness. He smiled and said, "It's alright. If Han-kun changes his mind in the future, he can come to me any time. No matter when, I will still be willing to accept Han-kun as my disciple and teach him diligently. Even if you're not my disciple, if Han-kun has any questions, he can always ask me." "Thank you for your understanding, Lord Orochimaru," Yu Guanghan said apologetically. Chapter 18 As expected. "Thank you for your understanding, Lord Orochimaru," Moonlight Han said apologetically. "I only forgive geniuses," Orochimaru said with a smile. "I imagine your clansmen are waiting anxiously outside, and you haven't seen them in a long time. Go and catch up with them. From now on, you will carry out missions with your clansmen, the Moonlight Clan. With the care of your clansmen, you will surely grow up quickly. Thank you for your concern, Lord Orochimaru. I'll take my leave now," Moonlight Han said, walking out of Orochimaru's command post. "You also want to take him as your disciple, Minato?" Orochimaru asked Minato with a smile after Gecko Han left, his eyes still brimming with excitement. Before Minato could answer, he continued, "Indeed, no one could resist such a genius, especially his abilities. It's as if they were awakened solely for war, Lord Orochimaru," Minato said. "I wish he could live in peace, so everyone could live in peace. Awakening such abilities is truly a tragedy, but this is a time of war," Orochimaru said, then fell silent. "Han, are you alright? What did Lord Orochimaru say to you?" "Don't be afraid, if you're in trouble, we'll all help you find a way." Gecko Han had just stepped out of the wooden hut and gone a little distance when the Gecko clan members, who had been waiting outside, immediately surrounded him, chattering with concern, their eyes filled with genuine affection. "So I still have a home?" Seeing everyone's concerned gazes and anxious expressions, Yu Guanghan seemed to feel a little relieved, no longer as suppressed as before. "Han boy, say something. How did Lord Orochimaru punish you?" Seeing Yu Guanghan remain silent, everyone became even more worried, and Yu Guanghuzi asked anxiously. "Lord Orochimaru didn't punish me, he even gave me a great merit." Seeing everyone's worried and concerned looks, Yu Guanghan's closed-off heart relaxed slightly. "What? A great merit? Han boy, did you really perform a great service? Han boy, we know you're sensible, but you don't need to lie to us. We've all watched you grow up, don't we all know your strength? What merit could you possibly have? If you have any difficulties, just tell us, and we can all help you." Hearing this, everyone was first stunned, then disbelieving, and began to chatter amongst themselves. In their eyes, Yu Guanghan was still very young, had just graduated from the ninja academy, didn't have much talent as a ninja, and was going to the battlefield for the first time. What great merit could he possibly have? They assumed that Moonlight Han was telling them this to avoid worrying them or because he was in danger. "Yes," Moonlight Han affirmed, "I awakened a bloodline limit I've never experienced before, killed many sand ninja, and even several sand jonin. Lord Orochimaru gave me a significant achievement, and the reason he wanted to see me was to find out more about my bloodline limit." "What? What did you just say?" "You awakened a bloodline limit I've never experienced before. The Moonlight Clan doesn't have bloodline limits. You killed many sand ninja, and even several sand jonin." Hearing Moonlight Han's words, the Moonlight Clan members were all stunned, bewildered, and incredulous. "It's true," Moonlight Han said, knowing that his clansmen wouldn't believe him so easily. He opened the cloth bag he had kept beside him. Inside were nearly 200 sand ninja headbands stained with blood. "These are all sand ninja headbands." Looking at the pile of sand ninja headbands in the cloth bag that Moonlight Han opened, Moonlight Hoshino and the others were completely stunned, their words caught in their throats. Their gazes were fixed on the blood-stained sand ninja headbands in the bag. There were probably 200 of them. 200 sand ninja. The entire Moonlight Clan only had a little over 60 ninja in total. More than 10 of them were Jonin, and only 2 were Jonin, not counting those still in school or those who had left the ninja ranks, such as disabled ninja or the elderly. Moonlight Han had killed nearly 200 sand ninja, equivalent to wiping out the Moonlight Clan 3 times over. In this war, all the Moonlight Clan's Chunin and above ninja had been deployed to the battlefield, and in over half a year, they hadn't even killed 100 sand ninja, while more than 20 had already sacrificed their lives. Moonlight Han's achievements were indeed immense. "Han boy, have you really awakened a bloodline limit that has never been seen before?" Moonlight Hoshino still couldn't believe it and asked solemnly. Everyone else stared intently at Yu Guanghan. Although strange noises had indeed been heard from Orochimaru's command center earlier, no one had considered this possibility. Awakening a new bloodline limit that had never been seen before. If new bloodline limits were so easy to obtain, there wouldn't be so many ninja clans without them. Those clans with bloodline limits wouldn't only have one type. Awakening a new bloodline limit requires luck, magnanimity, strength, talent, and opportunity. All are indispensable. It might take years, even decades, for a new bloodline limit to appear in the ninja world, demonstrating just how difficult it is. Even though the Sans Ninja headband Yu Guanghan presented was undeniably genuine, they still couldn't believe it. Of course it's real. I'll demonstrate it for you, and then you'll believe me, Yu Guanghan said. Hearing this, everyone looked at Yu Guanghan expectantly, eager to know what kind of bloodline limit he had awakened. Wait a minute, there are too many people here. Let's find a quieter place to demonstrate. Seeing that Moonlight Han didn't seem to be faking it, Moonlight Hoshino quickly stopped him. Yes, there are too many people here. Let's find a quieter place. Hearing this, the other Moonlight Clan ninjas nodded in agreement. Follow me, Moonlight Hoshino said, leading the way out of the camp. Great. With Han's bloodline limit, our Moonlight Clan will definitely rise. Han's attacks are so powerful that even a Jonin would have a hard time dodging them. He's amazing. Outside the Konoha camp, Moonlight Hoshino and a dozen other Moonlight Clan members surrounded Moonlight Han, returning with excitement and hope, their mouth full of praise for Moonlight Han and their ambitions for the future of the Moonlight Clan. Yet, Han's bloodline limit is too strong. Ordinary Chunin or even Jonin can't get close at all. Unless they know Earth Release, a Moonlight Clan member said with envy. Shut up. Upon hearing this, Moonlight Hoshino immediately shouted to stop him. Two other clansmen beside the one who had spoken out of turn quickly grabbed his neck and covered his mouth. No one is allowed to speak of Han's matter again, or they will be considered traitors, Moonlight Hoshino ordered with a grim face, his tone extremely serious. Moonlight Han's bloodline limit was too powerful. Having just awakened it, he could easily challenge opponents of higher levels. Moonlight Han was now practically the hope for the Moonlight Clan's rise. However, such a powerful bloodline limit would not only attract the attention of enemies, but also cause unrest among other clans in their own village. Enemies wouldn't want Konoha to have another strong individual, much less allow Konoha to have another powerful clan. Even rivals from within the village wouldn't want to see the Moonlight Clan become a new powerful clan in Konoha. After all, the pie of profit was only so big, and those who held the profits didn't want to have their share taken away. Even in peacetime, Moonlight Han's situation would be very dangerous. And the battlefield undoubtedly offered the best environment and opportunity to kill Moonlight Han. Han, I'll ask Lord Orochimaru for permission to return to the village tomorrow. The battlefield is too dangerous, Moonlight Hoshino solemnly told Moonlight Han. Yes, Han, you'll go back to the village tomorrow. Even if everyone begs for your return, we'll make sure you go. That's right, get the marriage arranged as soon as you get back. The other Moonlight Clan members nodded quickly. Their expressions were as if they were treating the only son of their clan, wishing they could tie Moonlight Han up and keep him at home like a pig or a horse. No, Moonlight Han shook his head. He had come to the battlefield for revenge, so how could he want to go back? However, Moonlight Han wouldn't voice his dangerous thoughts, otherwise his clansmen would probably tie him up and take him back. In the village, there are no more powerful ninjas in the clan. The powerful ninjas in the clan are all on the battlefield now. Lord Orochimaru has already approved my actions with the clansmen. Staying in the village might not be safer than here. Besides, with my abilities, I can also gain a lot of merit for the clan, Moonlight Han said. Having already anticipated the Moonlight Clan's reaction after revealing his bloodline limit, Moonlight Han had prepared his explanation in advance. That's fine. But Han, you must promise me that no matter what happens, you won't leave our side, not even in the camp. Moonlight Hoshino thought it over carefully and felt Moonlight Han's words made sense. Although this was a battlefield, almost all of the clan's powerful ninjas were here, making it safer. However, he also knew why Moonlight Han had requested to come to the battlefield, and naturally wouldn't give Moonlight Han a chance to act impulsively. No problem, Moonlight Han nodded, accepting this request as expected. New book period. Please support with recommendation votes. Crazy thanks you all. Chapter 19 Methods to replenish energy points. No, absolutely not. Inside Moonlight Hoshino's tent, Moonlight Hoshino rejected Moonlight Han's request, his resolute expression leaving no room for doubt. Just moments before, Moonlight Han had asked Moonlight Hoshino for 2 clansmen to assist him with his training using lightning release. However, upon hearing this request, Moonlight Hoshino immediately and firmly rejected this absurd request. Uncle Hoshino, training with lightning release, this concerned his energy reserves, and Moonlight Han was unwilling to give up so easily. After numerous battles, his energy reserves were now less than 700 points, requiring immediate replenishment. Only with sufficient energy points could he truly feel at ease on the battlefield against the Sand Ninja and better seek revenge. However, relying solely on fire and sunbathing to replenish energy points was too slow, and he couldn't continue relying on these methods indefinitely, especially since this was a battlefield where battles could occur at any moment. Using lightning release to replenish energy points was therefore imperative. Of course, Moonlight Han's explanation to Moonlight Hoshino was that he wanted lightning release to assist his training. I will absolutely not allow anyone to assist you in your cultivation in this way. Before Yu Guang'an could finish speaking, Yu Guangxingai interrupted him, earnestly advising, "Young man, give up this unrealistic cultivation method. Even using lightning release specifically for body tempering is extremely dangerous, let alone the lightning release, earth walk you're talking about. That's not body tempering lightning release, it's an offensive lightning release. Uncle Xingai, I know this is very dangerous, but I've already tested it. My bloodline limit has a high resistance to lightning release. Using lightning release, earth walk for cultivation will not only not cause any problems, but it will also greatly improve me," Yu Guanghan persisted, his expression equally firm. "No, even if you've already tested it, it's still not acceptable. And you absolutely cannot use this method to cultivate in the future. This cultivation method is like pulling up seedlings to help them grow. It's not only dangerous, but it will also greatly affect your future growth. You're still young, and you don't have the experience of adults when it comes to cultivation. Listen to your uncle, give up this unrealistic cultivation method. I will guide you carefully." Yu Guangxingai was equally firm, continuing to persuade him without room for argument. In his heart, he cursed Moonlight Han for being too stubborn and inflexible. Moonlight Han was the hope of the family, and he would never allow Moonlight Han to cultivate in such a dangerous way. "Uncle Hoshino, this is a battlefield, and we could face battle at any moment. So, I insist on this training method. Only in this way can I grow faster," Moonlight Han continued to insist, saying firmly, "Moreover, my bloodline limit was awakened through lightning release. Training with lightning release complements my bloodline limit. I don't think Uncle Hoshino or anyone else understands my bloodline limit better than me." I said no, and that's final. "No matter what you say, it won't work." Moonlight Hoshino's attitude remained firm, and then he earnestly advised, "Han boy, even if it means death, the clan will protect you without hesitation. Your safety is above everyone else's. How could I allow you to train in such an unrealistic and dangerous way? It will only harm you and let everyone down. So, give up this unrealistic idea." Seeing Moonlight Hoshino's unwavering expression, Moonlight Han knew that he couldn't persuade Moonlight Hoshino with words. He said, "Uncle Hoshino, since we each hold our own opinions and neither can convince the other, let's use facts to speak for ourselves. I know everyone is worried, so let's try 1 or 2 lightning release techniques and see how they go, okay?" Hearing this, Hoshino, who also knew he couldn't persuade Hoshino with words, nodded in agreement with Hoshino's suggestion. He was determined that no matter what the outcome, he wouldn't let Hoshino continue training with lightning release. After temporarily reaching an agreement, Hoshino and Hoshino walked out of the tent together. They called over a few clan ninjas skilled in lightning release and headed towards the forest behind the Konoha camp, one of the camp's designated training areas for ninjas. Ninjas have different strengths, so they can't all train together. But with a long-term stay, they can't avoid training, and training in the camp is too dangerous. More than 10 minutes later, Hoshino, and 2 other members of the Hoshino clan arrived at the forest behind the Konoha camp. At this moment, there were already dozens of Konoha ninjas in sight, either training or resting, almost all of them low-level chunin and shinin. From further away, the sounds of ninjutsu and shuts could be heard, indicating that the number of ninjas training here was far greater than what was visible. Moonlight Hoshino was already aware of the situation and wasn't surprised at all. After all, this was a battlefield, and everyone was striving to become stronger. "This way. Our clan has a designated training area," Moonlight Hoshino said to Moonlight Han. then led the group deeper into the forest. The deeper they went into the forest, the fewer ninjas they saw training, mostly members of various clans or chunin and jonin. After walking for about 10 more minutes, winding their way through the woods, Moonlight Hoshino led the group to a secluded grove. Here, 8 Moonlight Clan ninjas were diligently practicing Konoha-style swordsmanship, their sweat pouring down their faces. Clan Chief, upon seeing Moonlight Hoshino, the group of people who were cultivating stopped and greeted him respectfully. Looking at the 8 clan ninjas before him, Moonlight Hoshino instructed, "Stop for a moment. Keep watch around and don't let anyone near here." Yes, hearing Moonlight Hoshino's order, the 8 who had stopped cultivating immediately responded and quickly dispersed, disappearing into the nearby woods. "What's wrong, Han boy?" After assigning the clan ninjas to guard the area, Moonlight Hoshino turned around and saw Moonlight Han standing there in a daze, and immediately asked. This interrupted Moonlight Han's reverie. "It's nothing." Hearing this, Yu Guanghan suppressed his thoughts, shook his head, and said, "Uncle Zingai, let's begin." "Alright." Hearing this, Yu Guangzingai nodded and said to the 2 clan ninjas he had brought, "Longkun, Shiakun, use lightning release to assist Han boy's training. Start with the lowest level of lightning release, and be sure to control the power." "Yes, clan leader." "Don't worry, clan leader, we guarantee we won't hurt Han boy." Hearing this, Yu Guanglong and Yu Guangxi immediately patted their chests and assured him. Then they asked Yu Guanghan, "Han boy, what do you need us to do?" "Just use lightning release on me directly." "Uncle Long, Uncle Shi Yi, we're counting on you." Hearing this, Yu Guanghan stepped forward and said. Hearing Yu Guanghan's request, the 2 first glanced at Yu Guangzingai, and after seeing Yu Guangzingai nod, they said together, "No problem." After saying that, Yu Guanglong began to form hand seals. It was only the lowest level of lightning release ninjutsu, and Yu Guanglong had prepared the ninjutsu in just 2 or 3 seals. Lightning release, thunder palm. Moonlight Long called out the ninjutsu, his hand, crackling with electricity, gently patting Moonlight Han's body. Only 0.5 energy points. After absorbing the current from lightning release, thunder palm, Moonlight Han closed his eyes and glanced at the change in his energy points. Speechless, he said sincerely, "This lightning release is far from enough, Uncle Long. There's no need to suppress it like this, and don't worry about me getting hurt, alright?" Hearing this, Moonlight Long glanced at Moonlight Hoshino again. Seeing Moonlight Hoshino nod slightly, he formed hand seals again. Lightning release, thunder palm, still deliberately calling out the ninjutsu name. This time, the electricity on Moonlight Long's palm thickened considerably, gently patting Moonlight Han's body. Without a sound, the current from thunder palm disappeared from Moonlight Han's body like a mud ox sinking into the sea, without even a spark. 3 energy points. After absorbing the thunder palm, Moonlight Han closed his eyes again and glanced at his energy points, saying, "Uncle Long, it's still not enough. Use a stronger lightning release ninjutsu, Han boy, don't hesitate to tell me if you can't handle it." Lightning release, electricity. Having received permission again from Moonlight Hoshino, Moonlight Long instructed Moonlight Han, forming hand seals once more. After deliberately calling out the name of the ninjutsu, Moonlight Long placed his hands on Moonlight Han's shoulders. A surge of blue electricity rapidly generated from Moonlight Long's hands, continuously flowing through Moonlight Han's body. Guess why Moonlight Han was stunned? Please vote. Chapter 20, Departure, New Combat Mission. This chapter is a bit bland. Lightning release, earth release. A powerful blue electric current surged from Moonlight Long's hands for the 3rd time, reaching Moonlight Han's body. However, this current, landing on Moonlight Han, was like a gentle stream flowing into a vast ocean, creating no ripples whatsoever, disappearing without a trace, even less effective than sprinkling dust. 20 energy points. Moonlight Han closed his eyes, a look of enjoyment on his face, watching his stored energy points increase by another 20, his heart filled with excitement. Moonlight Long truly lived up to his reputation as an elite chunin. His lightning release, earth release was far superior to his own, providing twice as many energy points. Beside him, watching Moonlight Han, unharmed after enduring multiple D-rank lightning release attacks and 3 lightning release, earth release attacks from Moonlight Long, Moonlight Hoshino became even more excited, his breathing becoming rapid. His initial firm resolve against Moonlight Han using lightning release for training transformed into determination to support him with the entire clan's strength. Not only Hoshino, But even Tsukiko Takayuki and Tsukiko Shino looked at Tsukiko Han with intense fervor. After 7D rank lightning release techniques and 3C rank lightning release, earth release experiments, they had confirmed that Tsukiko Han was immune to ordinary lightning release damage and could absorb it. His powerful killing ability, combined with his immunity to an absorption of ordinary lightning release, elevated Tsukiko Han's bloodline limit in their eyes to a whole new level. This was a powerful bloodline limit comparable to the Sharingan and Byakugan, perhaps even surpassing them, approaching the level of wood release. In their eyes, as long as Tsukiko Han could successfully grow to adulthood and then diligently expand his family, the Tsukiko clan's rise to power would be just around the corner. The three even began to consider young girls from within the clan and from commoner ninja families. Uncle Hoshino, can we have someone use lightning release to assist my training now? After the experiment, Tsukiko Han's somewhat cold, electronic voice interrupted the excited trio's wild thoughts. However, at this moment, the three excited individuals had overlooked the fact that Yu Guanghan's voice used to be quite different, once filled with joy, laughter, and liveliness. Of course, Yu Guangxingai said excitedly with a smile, but we still need to be careful and keep it a secret. From now on, Long and Shiyu will assist you in your training with lightning release. Remember, you cannot use lightning release ninjutsu higher than C rank to assist your training, and you absolutely cannot use lightning release to assist your training in front of others. I understand, Uncle Xingai. Yu Guanghan nodded. Yu Guanglong and Yu Guangxi stood to the side, beaming from ear to ear. They were not only excited that their clan had produced a super genius like Yu Guanghan, but also excited that they could receive assistance in his training. Yu Guanghan's rise was inevitable, and this would be a huge favor in the future. At dusk, the setting sun cast its golden light into the forest. Clan leader, Han, it's getting late. Shouldn't we head back? Looking at the gradually setting sun, a weary Yu Guanglong suggested. For the entire afternoon, he and Yu Guangxino continuously refined their chakra and unleashed ninjutsu, performing nearly 80 lightning release, earth release techniques. They felt completely drained and desperately wanted to return and rest. Let's go back. Seeing their exhaustion, Yu Guangxingai nodded in agreement and said to them, "Thank you for your hard work." "Thank you, uncles," Yu Guanghan replied gratefully. After an afternoon of lightning release recharging, combined with his existing reserves, he had accumulated 2,000 energy points. "It's our duty," Yu Guanglong and Yu Guangxino said with smiles. Assisting Yu Guanghan's training was arduous, but it was all worthwhile. Afterwards, Yu Guangxingai gathered the Yu Guang clan members who were on guard, and they all headed towards the camp. Lord Tsukikage Hoshino, just as he returned to the Konoha camp, to the Tsukikage clan's encampment, an ambush suddenly appeared before him, saying, "Lord Orochimaru requests your presence at command post." "Yes, let's go." Tsukikage Hoshino nodded and left, accompanied by the ambu. "Looks like we have another new mission." Sigh. Watching Tsukikage Hoshino leave with the ambu, Tsukikage Ryu sighed helplessly. Sigh. Hearing this, almost everyone in the Tsukikage clan, except for Tsukikage Han, sighed. Every mission resulted in deaths. Who knew when this war would end? Since the start of the war, almost all of the Tsukikage clan's Chunin and above ninja had gone to fight the Sans ninja. Now, of the original 50-odd, only 30-odd remained. Sigh. Looking at the silent crowd, Tsukikage Han also sighed, went into Tsukikage Hoshino's tent, and went to rest early. To protect Yu Guanghan, Yu Guangxingai arranged for him to share a tent with him. The next day, before sunrise and dawn, Yu Guanghan was awakened by Yu Guangxingai. He quickly got ready and followed Yu Guangxingai out of the tent. At this time, the other clansmen had already emerged from their tents in twos and threes. "Let's go." Without further ado, Yu Guangxingai gave the order after everyone had come out and led the way out of the camp. "Follow me." Seeing this, everyone followed Yu Guangxingai out of the camp without asking any questions. Not long after leaving the camp, Yu Guangxingai led everyone to catch up with a group of about 60 Konoha ninja. Without exchanging words, Yu Guangxingai simply led his clansmen to join the ninja group and continue their journey. They're all ninja from the Midori and Kirima clans. As they walked, Yu Guanghan carefully observed each member of the group of about 60 ninja, thinking to himself. As the sun rose, its rays slanted across the forest, illuminating the area. After traveling about 20 or 30 miles, the group of over 100 people finally stopped in a valley. "Our objective this time is to destroy a Sunagakure stronghold and hold it," said Gekko Hoshino, the squad leader, after gathering everyone together. He had waited until after leaving camp to reveal the details, fearing that enemy spies might discover them. Hearing this, everyone's expressions turned serious. This was no ordinary stronghold, it was undoubtedly crucial to Tsunagakure, its location extremely important. Capturing it would be vital to the overall battle, otherwise, they wouldn't have deployed all of Konoha's clan ninja to execute this plan. Everyone knew that Tsunagakure wouldn't allow them to take the stronghold so easily. Once they did, they would face a fierce attack from the Tsunagakure ninja, a truly arduous mission. Chapter 21 Sand Village Stronghold. Everyone be careful, there are enemy traps around. In the forest, Moonlight Hoshino, who was walking at the front, suddenly said, raising his hand to signal everyone to stop. He then called to Moonlight Han, who was in the middle of the group, Han, come here, Uncle Hoshino. Hearing this, Moonlight Han stepped forward. His electronic eyes immediately spotted the trap between two bushes ahead. It was a thin, long steel wire dyed gray, yellow, and green, threaded through the bushes, about a few centimeters above the ground, very inconspicuous. There are many traps on the battlefield, especially around strongholds and camps, where a large number of traps are used, so you must be careful. Many traps rely on steel wires. These wires are usually dyed to prevent reflection and blend into the surrounding environment, Moonlight Hoshino explained to Moonlight Han. As he spoke, he carefully placed his palm behind the wire, making it much more visible. Moonlight Han hummed in agreement, indicating he was listening attentively. Moonlight Hoshino was using this opportunity to teach him battlefield experience. Although he himself had relied on numerous traps to kill the 31 Sand Ninja Squad, and he knew this principle, his experience was nowhere near that of Gecko Hoshino. Traps like this usually have explosive tags concealed at both ends. While simple, these traps are quick to set and incredibly powerful, making them quite common. To prevent this from being a chain trap, we can't just cut a wire, we need to find the explosive tags first, Gecko Hoshino explained, demonstrating to Gecko Han as he followed the wire through the bushes on either side, finding two concealed explosive tags and carefully disarming them. After demonstrating once, Gecko Hoshino addressed everyone, reaching this point means we've entered the enemy's defensive range. We'll encounter more and more traps from here on out. Those joining an elite chunin with experience in disarming traps should go first, cooperating to disarm the traps in this direction. Yes, sir. Hearing Gecko Hoshino's instructions, everyone immediately nodded, and some experienced, older joining an elite chunin quickly moved to the front of the group. Han boy, you come with me, Moonlight Hoshino instructed Moonlight Han. He wanted to seize every opportunity to teach Moonlight Han battlefield experience. Of course, they still had a very important mission. This was just a brief lesson along the way. On the third day, at dusk, after carefully advancing and dismantling traps for a day and a night, the Konoha group of over 100 people finally arrived at the mouth of a valley flanked by treacherous mountains on both sides. This was a narrow valley less than 100 meters wide but of unknown length. The mountains on both sides were nearly 1,000 meters high and stretched endlessly. Although not sheer cliffs, the surrounding mountains had a very steep incline, and the terrain was complex, with dense trees and vines, making it steep and difficult to traverse. Even ninjas would need considerable time to cross the mountains. Carriages and horses were simply not an option. The valley in the middle of the mountains had been widened and leveled by the sand village using earth release techniques to facilitate transportation, while the mountains on both sides had been heavily fortified with traps, leading everyone carefully up the mountainside. It took half a day to finally see their target, a sand ninja outpost nestled half a mile inside the valley. It consisted of over 30 makeshift wooden huts and 40 or 50 tents erected on either side of the valley. Even from a distance, the constantly moving figures within the outpost were visible. The number of people at this sand ninja outpost was considerable, perhaps even greater than the number of ninja who had attacked Konoha. Han, what do you think of the terrain here? Looking down at the sand ninja outpost, Moonlight Hoshino asked Moonlight Han beside him. Everyone around quickly turned to look at Moonlight Han. This place is surrounded by towering mountains, with steep cliffs on both sides. The terrain is treacherous, and there are probably no other roads around. This is a very important transportation route, possibly even the only supply line for the Sand Ninja in this area. War doesn't just have one battlefield. If the Sand Ninja were to change their route, it would not only take a lot of time and require more people to handle the transport, but without the terrain advantage, they would be more vulnerable to attacks along the way. Upon hearing this, Yu Guang'an immediately began to analyze the situation logically. At the same time, Yu Guang'an was also puzzled. In such an important location, there must be a lot of sand ninja here, and the defense must be very strong. Why did Orochimaru only send a little over 100 of their ninjas? Although they were all from mid-level clans, their strength was still insufficient. They couldn't even hold their own. Even if they could capture this place, the casualties would be very high, let alone defend it. It was almost impossible. If that was the case, then why did Hikari Hoshino and the other clan's ninjas accept this almost impossible mission? Your analysis is quite good. Moonlight Hoshino patted Moonlight Han on the shoulder and said, "So, are you confident you can take this place and defend it?" Me. Upon hearing this, Moonlight Han was stunned for a moment. He finally understood that Orochimaru wanted to use his bloodline limit advantage to take and defend this place. This also explained why this place was so important, yet Orochimaru hadn't sent anyone to take it until he arrived. Because a large team would be easily discovered by the Sand Ninja and wouldn't be able to infiltrate here, while a small team wouldn't be strong enough to take and defend it, and it was impossible to specifically send elites and Jonin here, as they were also very needed on other battlefields. But with his technological template, things were different. In this kind of narrow, open terrain, firearms had a huge advantage, and Orochimaru had undoubtedly seen this, which was why he sent them. If it were you, how do you think you should take this place? And how do you think you should defend it afterward? Just tell me, Moonlight Hoshino asked Moonlight Han with a smile, seeing that he was a little confused. Everyone else also looked at Moonlight Han nervously. If we can get within 150 meters of their stronghold, I can launch a full-scale attack. Defense can wait, it requires everyone's cooperation. Having realized he was in charge of the main attack, Yu Guang'an immediately said. Having just installed the new technology template, Yu Guang'an was confident in his ability to launch a full-scale attack, which would also allow him to test the new technology. There must be multiple sensory ninjas among these sand ninjas. It's too difficult to infiltrate within 150 meters of them, a Jonin from the Midori clan said, shaking his head. The others nodded in agreement. It was impossible for the sand ninjas not to have sensory ninjas stationed at such a crucial location, and certainly more than one. It was virtually impossible for over 100 people to sneak in undetected. The protagonist will have many technological templates. Aside from special templates like the Red Alert template, Transformers template, Clone template, and Robot production line, other templates will only be introduced when they are used. The acquisition process won't be detailed. Examples include the Barrett template and Battleship template. Common technological templates, those with a perception range exceeding 1 kilometer are exceptionally talented. For instance, the Byakugan is extremely rare, making other ninja villages very envious. Ordinary sensory ninjas can only perceive a distance of a few hundred meters, and the perception effect is not very good. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Sniping. It's indeed very difficult to infiltrate their stronghold. We don't even have a way to get all 150 of us there quietly, right? But we don't necessarily have to infiltrate. Moonlight Han shook his head upon hearing this. So, as long as we can get within 150 meters of their stronghold, that's enough. The method, how we get close, and whether we're discovered are not important, Han. We really can't get so many of us to infiltrate quietly. Since we can't avoid being discovered, then tell us your battle plan, Moonlight Hoshino asked upon hearing Moonlight Han's words. The safest way is to attack directly, make them leave their stronghold, and wait for them to come to us, Moonlight Han immediately said. No way. Upon hearing this, Moonlight Hoshino shook his head and rejected Moonlight Han's tactics without even thinking. Moonlight Han's words were practically meaningless, even worse than saying nothing at all. Moonlight Hoshino even began to worry about Moonlight Han's ability to devise tactics. Although Moonlight Han's bloodline limit was very strong, and he very much wanted to train Moonlight Han to become a powerful ninja capable of standing alone, this battle plan was not the safest way at all, but the most dangerous one. This abandons their advantage of hiding in the shadows, directly exposing their presence. Moreover, this is Sand Ninja territory, surrounded by Sand Ninja traps. By the time the Sand Ninja arrives, they will already be prepared and extremely cautious. With multiple sensory ninjas on the other side, luring them in and then ambushing them is virtually impossible. In fact, they might be the ones on the defensive, surrounded by the sand ninja. The other Jonin also looked at Yu Guanghan with disappointment. They were all somewhat disappointed in his tactical planning abilities. Lurin tactics are indeed effective, but they depend on the situation. To utter such seemingly pointless words shows that Yu Guanghan is indeed only a 12-year-old Jinan, possessing a powerful bloodline limit but lacking sufficient experience. In fact, when the Jonin accepted this mission, they already knew from Orochimaru that Yu Guanghan was the main attacker in this operation. They also knew that Yu Guanghan had awakened a very powerful bloodline limit and had even achieved great feats, killing nearly 200 enemy ninjas. Orochimaru highly valued Gecko Hand's bloodline limit, even intending to use it to take over the Sand Village stronghold. This operation arose from this very desire. However, Gecko Hand's operational plan greatly disappointed them. He even claimed it was the safest method. Seeing everyone's gaze, Yu Guanghan added, "To capture this stronghold, we don't necessarily have to get close to it. Killing their ninjas is equivalent to capturing the stronghold. And to defend this place, we don't need to stay in that stronghold, or even in this valley. Our core mission has always been to prevent the sand ninjas from passing through here. Focusing on this core mission, we don't even need to capture the stronghold." "That's true," Yu Guangxing nodded, saying, "but I don't agree with your plan. You haven't considered the current situation and environment at all. My battle plan is simple. Since we can't infiltrate to within 150 meters of their stronghold, we'll just attack directly," Yu Guanghan insisted, raising his right hand to transform into a Barrett rifle and propping it against a nearby tree. His left hand supporting his right shoulder, his feet spread apart to counteract the recoil. This posture ensured accurate long-range sniping. The technology template comes with corresponding mastery skills. Direct attack? Wait, Han, we're over 700 meters from the Sand Village base down the mountain. That's too far, and your plan is simply unworkable. Let's discuss tactics first, and you can just follow our instructions." Seeing that Moonlight Han was about to attack directly, Moonlight Hoshino quickly put his hand on Moonlight Han's shoulder, stopping him. "Direct attack, that's the worst tactic. Not even a tactic, it's recklessness. Especially at this distance, it's practically sending a message to the enemy. Han, your plan is completely unworkable. Let's have a few of us Jonin discuss the battle plan. Once we've discussed it, you can just follow our instructions," Moonlight Hoshino said. The other Jonin nodded in agreement. Moonlight Han had already been excluded from the discussion. "What if I can get to this distance and kill them?" Hearing everyone's doubts, Yu Guanghan confidently stated, 700 meters, that's a much easier distance for me. And when they get within 150 meters, I have ways to deal with them too. You have no idea what I'm capable of." With that, Yu Guanghan opened fire. Bang! A loud gunshot echoed through the forest, a flash of crimson light streaking across the sky. The .50 caliber bullet tore through the air, hurtling through the trees at 930 meters per second, heading towards the Sand Ninja's stronghold. Everyone was stunned by the loud gunshot. Many were even startled by the sudden bang. Several Jonin glared angrily at Yu Guanghan. Bang 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 bang. However, before the Jonin could say anything, 4 more loud gunshots rang out. "Maki, you're practicing incorrectly. I'll teach you again." Inside the Sand Village outpost in the valley, watching his 3 disciples diligently practicing ninjutsu, Sand Village Jonin Chisaku smiled and spoke to the boy on the far right, whose face was half covered by a white cloth. This was his most talented and hard-working disciple. "Okay, master." Hearing that his teacher was going to teach him again, the boy practicing the new ninjutsu immediately stopped and looked at his teacher excitedly. "PFFT, master," but before he could finish speaking, his teacher's head was smashed in half as if something had hit it. Fragments of flesh, blood, and brain matter splattered everywhere, even onto the white cloth covering his face. PFFT, before he could even react to his teacher's death, a fist-sized bloody hole appeared in the chest of one of his companions, who was looking at him with envy. He was sent flying. PFFT, less than a second later, another companion's arm exploded off, flying off directly. A shrill scream echoed through the camp. The boy with the severed arm clutched his arm, howling in agony. Bang! Only then did the first gunshot finally reach the Sand Ninja's stronghold, causing all the Sand Ninja to stop what they were doing. "Enemy attack!" A scream rang out behind the young ninja. "Maki, a sand ninja who had witnessed the deaths of Maki's companions and teacher, shouting desperately. Bang! Thud! However, before the sand ninja's scream could even subside, a second gunshot rang out, and the fifth bullet pierced his throat, silencing him abruptly. Bang! 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 Then, 3 more gunshots rang out in quick succession. Enemy attack! Only then did the sand ninja's shouts echo throughout the stronghold. The sand ninja quickly looked in the direction of the gunfire, but the distance was too great, they couldn't see anything at all. The protagonist wasn't recklessly charging in, his goal was to kill the sand ninja. Chapter 23 Sniper 2. Inside the sand village's stronghold, the sand ninja shouted enemy attack, while frantically searching for the source of the noise. Hearing the shouts, many sand ninja resting in their huts rushed out, weapons in hand, ready to fight. But there wasn't a single enemy in sight. Even the sensory ninja couldn't find any hidden enemies, only able to determine their approximate direction from the gunfire. The sand ninja in the stronghold had only heard the strange noises and shouts of enemy attack, before rushing out. Many of them didn't even know what was happening, let alone that several people had already died in the stronghold, including an elite Jonin. Just seconds later, before the sand ninja could take any further action, many still standing like sitting ducks after rushing out of their huts, high-speed bullets struck their stronghold a second before the sound could even register, the metallic bullets easily piercing their bodies and flesh. Within 3 seconds, 5 more sand ninja were riddled with bullets, their heads blown off. Bang 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 bang. Only after a sand ninja fell did 5 more gunshots ring out again in their stronghold. 5 sand ninja fell in quick succession within 3 seconds. Enemy attack! The sand ninja, having witnessed their comrades' deaths, roared in terror. Surrounding ninja rushed to their fallen comrades, while some sand ninja seized the opportunity to search for the enemy who had launched the sneak attack. However, despite witnessing their comrades' deaths, they still couldn't find the enemy hiding there. They only knew the enemy was hiding on a high mountain to the right of the valley, but even the sensory ninja couldn't pinpoint their exact location. Teacher! A heart-wrenching cry echoed through the sand ninja stronghold. The younger ninja, seeing their teacher dead, his head blown off, was devastated. Brother! The older ninja, holding his younger brother who had lost half his head, wept bitterly. Hang in there, sand ninja. You have to hold on. 7 or 8 sand ninja surrounded a fallen female sand ninja. Her husband lay beside her, desperately trying to stop the bleeding from the gaping hole in her chest, calling out her name anxiously. Medical ninja. Come quick! 7 or 8 sand ninja nearby cried out for a medical ninja. They surrounded the injured woman. She was the only one of the 5 sand ninja still alive. A medical ninja rushed over and quickly applied medical ninjutsu to the wound on her chest. Unfortunately, with the power of the Barrett bullets, a single hit to the torso was practically a death sentence. The medical ninja understood this, he was simply doing his best and leaving the rest to fate. The fallen sand ninja only gasped for breath for a moment before falling silent. No! Seeing his wife die, the husband roared in grief and anger. Thud! 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 Just then, a bullet suddenly arrived, instantly piercing the chest of the person in front of him, then passing through his roaring mouth and the back of his head, finally piercing the thigh of a sand ninja behind him. Blood splattered, splashing onto the faces and bodies of 6 or 7 sand ninjas around him. This sudden turn of events stunned the surrounding sand ninjas for a moment. Thud! Thud! However, in less than a second, another bullet came, blowing the head off the medical ninja who had just stood up, and piercing the chest of another sand ninja. Bang! The gunshot finally rang out, followed by 3 more bullets flying in, hitting 4 more sand ninjas around him. The enemy is attacking from the mountain on the right. We can't stand in open areas, hide first, find cover. Seeing what was happening, although the other sand ninjas hadn't yet located the enemy's exact position, some of them already knew they couldn't continue standing in open areas. They quickly shouted warnings to their companions while hiding behind the wooden huts in the base, or using earth-release ninjutsu to shield themselves. The attack happened more than a second before we heard the sound. The enemy attacked from outside the sensory range of the ninjas, at least 500 meters away. What a bizarre attack! It was even faster than the sound. Behind a wooden house in the Sand Village stronghold, an elite Sand Village Jonin quickly analyzed the situation, his face extremely grim. He shouted loudly, "Everyone, the enemy attacked from the mountain on the right, several hundred meters away. Hide. Don't leave your cover, Lord Luo Fei. Lord Jinse is dead. Only Maki survived among his disciples. In the distance, behind another wooden house, a Sand Village ninja shouted loudly to the Sand Village commander. Maki was right beside him, and in front of this wooden house lay the bodies of the elite Sand Village Jonin Jinsen, his 2 disciples, and a Sand Village Chunin. Kyune can hit Chunin and even Jonin, and bullets are at least 10 times faster than Kyune. The seemingly insignificant bullets are simply impossible for ordinary ninjas to dodge. Han, why didn't you listen to us and act on your own? Looking at Yu Guanghan, who suddenly fired his gun, Yu Guangxingai was exasperated and quite disappointed. Yu Guanghan, you're too impulsive. As a ninja, you should absolutely obey orders. This is acting without authorization. The other Jonin also glared at Yu Guanghan through gritted teeth, one of them even angrily rebuking him. Yu Guanghan's actions undoubtedly exposed them. If it weren't for Yu Guanghan's special identity and abilities, they would have already taken him down. No one thought Yu Guanghan's plan was feasible, no one believed he could kill a Sand Ninja from such a distance, and no one even thought he could attack the Sand Ninja's base from here. Even Moonlight Hoshino didn't believe Moonlight Han could do it. Although he had tested Moonlight Han's bloodline limit before, he had never tested it at such a distance, not even half the distance. This was because they knew almost nothing about guns. Bang 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 bang. Unfortunately, Moonlight Han ignored them completely. After remanifesting the bullets, he fired 5 more shots in quick succession. It all happened in just a few seconds. Hey, are you even listening? Do you want to kill us all? Seeing Moonlight Han fire again, creating a series of loud bangs, not only the Jonin but even the Chunin couldn't contain their anger. They shouted and even cursed, and several had already rolled up their sleeves, ready to fight. Moonlight Han was risking the lives of over 100 of them. It was an unfeasible plan. Even if this mission might depend on Moonlight Han's bloodline limit to complete, they had to teach him a lesson first, to show him what obedience meant, otherwise he really would kill everyone. Everyone, calm down. Our location has been exposed, and the Sand Ninja will be here soon. Our top priority now is to evacuate, not to assign blame. We can discuss countermeasures later. I'll teach this kid a lesson and make sure this never happens again. Seeing that all the other ninjas, except for his own, were indignant and ready to punish Yu Guanghan, Yu Guangxingai quickly said. Clan Chief Xingai, you absolutely must discipline this kid from your clan. He'll get us all killed, not just us, but you too. Hearing Yu Guangxingai speak, everyone knew that evacuation was indeed the priority, so they temporarily suppressed their anger. One Jonin said fiercely. I'm sorry, I'll definitely discipline him properly after we evacuate and I absolutely won't let him make this mistake again. Hearing this, Yu Guangxingai quickly apologized and promised. You know absolutely nothing about my abilities, let alone sniping tactics. You think my plan is unworkable, then you can proceed with your own plans. I'm going to follow my own plan. Hearing the angry voices behind him and the words of protection from Moonlight Hoshino, Moonlight Han spoke coldly and indifferently. His voice remained unchanged, unmoved by his comrades' angry curses and accusations. The synthesized electronic voice remained icy. After speaking, Moonlight Han fired 5 more shots. The Sand Ninja in the Sand Village were surrounding the dead man. This was a rare opportunity. Seeing Moonlight Han fire again, the already furious Jonin and Chunin could no longer suppress their rage. Even Moonlight Hoshino didn't know how to speak up for Moonlight Han, but she quickly went to his side, pressed down on the Barrett rifle that Moonlight Han's hand had transformed into, and shouted angrily, Enough. You should reflect on your actions. I don't think I need to reflect. Let's see the results, Moonlight Han said, gesturing for Moonlight Hoshino to observe the Sand Ninja stronghold in the valley through the Barrett scope. Seeing Moonlight Han's insistence, Moonlight Hoshino could only follow Moonlight Han's guidance with some skepticism, looking through the Barrett scope at the Sand Ninja stronghold in the valley. You actually did it. You really killed the Sand Ninja. With just one glance, Moonlight Hoshino's expression froze, and she muttered in shock. The Sand Ninja stronghold below was already in chaos. The Sand Ninja were scrambling to find cover or using earth release to block their path. As Moonlight Han moved the Barrett, he saw through the scope more than a dozen Sand Ninja corpses on the ground at the stronghold. What? Hearing Moonlight Hoshino's shocked words, the indignant Konoha ninja fell silent, all staring at him. They were stunned. That was a distance of 700 meters. One Jonin quickly pulled out his binoculars and looked towards the Sand Village's stronghold. He said in disbelief, he actually did it. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean I can't. Now, do you still think my plan is impossible? Moonlight Han said, looking at the shocked Moonlight Hoshino. Han has already killed more than 10 Sand Village ninjas. Hearing Wang Han's words, Moonlight Hoshino recovered from his shock and quickly told the others. That's right, the Jonin with the binoculars nodded, quite shocked, and handed the binoculars to another Jonin. Now, all the Konoha ninjas were even more shocked, not only because Moonlight Han could kill Sand Village ninjas from such a distance, but also because he had killed more than 10 Sand Village ninjas in the half-minute they had been arguing. Please vote. I've already signed a contract, so feel free to add it to your collection. Chapter 24 The Not-So-Pure Sniper. Now, if you still think my tactics are unworkable, you may leave. I will still act according to my own tactics and continue the attack. Looking at the shocked expressions of the Konoha ninjas, Yu Guanghan said coldly. Yu Guang clan brat, we acknowledge your strength and ability, but we still cannot agree with your plan. It's too risky. We can't risk the lives of over 100 of us to carry out this risky tactic with you, and we won't agree to your acting alone. So let's retreat first and plan more. Hearing this, a Jonin from the Midori clan spoke up, still disagreeing with Yu Guanghan's plan. The other Jonin nodded in agreement. Although they had to admit that Yu Guanghan's bloodline limit was indeed very powerful, and they had witnessed its strength, they didn't think what Yu Guanghan said was truly feasible. After all, it concerned the lives of over 100 of them, and they couldn't let Yu Guanghan take the risk alone, as he was the key to this mission. However, after Yu Guanghan demonstrated his strength, his tone softened considerably, and the other Konoha ninjas suppressed their anger again. This was also the result Yu Guanghan wanted, real power, not just being a junior being guided and cared for. Han, your plan is still too risky. Let's rethink it. With your bloodline limit, our chances of taking this base are much higher, Yu Guangxing advised, even feeling a surge of excitement. He had noticed the change in everyone's attitude after Yu Guanghan displayed his strength. This was the beginning of the clan's rise. Although I don't know what kind of battle plan you'll devise, Yu Guanghan shook his head, finally explaining to everyone. Seeing the Jonin's tone soften, I think I haven't explained myself clearly enough, which is why you think my tactics are too risky. Actually, my tactics aren't risky at all, and they can take the Sand Village's base in the shortest time. It's just that you don't understand my bloodline limit. Hearing this, everyone fell silent, waiting for Yu Guanghan to continue. Seeing that no one spoke, Moonlight Han continued, I said before that if I could get within 150 meters of their stronghold, I'm confident I could take it by force. I said me, not us. If I can get within 150 meters, I can raise their stronghold to the ground in a minute. Conversely, even if we don't get within 150 meters of the Sand Village stronghold, but the Sand Villagers do get within 150 meters of us, I can still inflict heavy casualties on them before the two sides clash, and even make it difficult for them to get close. Han, are you serious? Moonlight Hoshino asked solemnly. He began to waver. The other Jonin also began to weigh their options. But no one dared to risk the lives of more than 100 people, and no one dared to agree. Upon hearing this, Moonlight Han said, if you still feel it's not safe, then let's use a compromise. I'll attack alone, while you set up traps and ambush me here. If I succeed, you can launch an attack and expand your gains. If I fail, I'll lure the Sand Ninja into the traps. I've already killed quite a few Sand Ninja. Even if I fail, they won't be able to take me down anytime soon. And for a genius like me, the Sand Ninja will definitely try their best to kill me. Alright, I agree. Moonlight Long, Moonlight Shinobu, and I will accompany you. The rest of you will stay here and set up traps and prepare. Seeing Moonlight Han's insistence, Moonlight Hoshino finally nodded in agreement to Moonlight Han's compromise. However, still worried about Moonlight Han's safety, he planned to go with Moonlight Han and two members of the Moonlight clan. Seeing that Moonlight Hoshino, as the commander, agreed, and that those going were all from the Moonlight clan, the other Jonin had no choice but to agree as well. Han boy, what should we do? Moonlight Hoshino asked Moonlight Han. Charge to the Sand Ninja's stronghold at top speed, said Gecko Han. Seeing Gecko Hoshino and the other two not in agreement, they immediately rushed towards the Sand Ninja's stronghold in the valley. Gecko Hoshino and the other two followed immediately. Set up traps. Seeing the four members of the Gecko clan already heading towards the Sand Ninja's stronghold in the valley, the remaining Jonin immediately ordered, beginning the preparations. Inside the Sand Ninja's stronghold in the valley, the Sand Ninja hid behind obstacles, not daring to reveal themselves easily. None wanted to risk their lives. The attack was faster than sound, invisible to the naked eye. They could only react after being hit, leaving them with almost no chance of evasion. Only a few sand ninjas skilled in earth release quietly slipped away, heading to the mountain on the right to search for traces of the ambushing enemy. If Gekko-han had seen this, he would have said that these sand ninja understood the terror of sniping better than their comrades, and dared not easily expose themselves. This was a conclusion reached after their comrades had sacrificed their lives. Luo Fei, an elite jonin of the Sand Village, was frantically searching for a solution. This was an incredibly troublesome and dangerous enemy, and there was definitely more than one. If he couldn't find and eliminate them, not only would everyone in the base, including himself, face imminent death, but this vital supply line to the Sand Village would also be in grave danger. The enemy is charging down. 4 of them, about 500 meters away, just as Luo Fei was at his wit's end, a sensory ninja beside him suddenly reported. Everyone prepare for battle. Fight the enemy from behind the obstacles as much as possible. If possible, capture them alive. Hearing this, Luo Fei's face lit up, and he quickly shouted orders to the Sand Village ninjas hiding behind various obstacles. This might be a breakthrough. However, he hadn't forgotten the enemy who posed the greatest threat to them. That kind of ability was best exploited from the shadows. Although he knew the enemy's brazen charge down must have a plan, perhaps to lure them away from their hiding places, this was also an opportunity for him. The protagonist isn't a pure sniper. Nor does the protagonist want to spend a lot of time slowly sniping, on a hillside overgrown with trees and bushes. As Yu Guanghan and his companions leaped over a thicket, a sand ninja suddenly emerged from the ground in front of Yu Guanghan, aiming a kunai at Yu Guanghan's chest, who was being protected by Yu Guangxingai and his 2 companions. Simultaneously, from the ground beneath Yu Guangxingai's feet, a pair of hands suddenly reached out, grabbing Yu Guangxingai's legs and attempting to pull him into the ground. Beside Yu Guangxingai, another sand ninja emerged from the ground, kunai in hand, preparing to rush towards Yu Guangxingai, whose legs were being held. Around Yu Guanglong and Yu Guangshai, the outer edge of the protective circle, 4 more sand ninjas suddenly emerged from the ground. One of them, before fully emerging from the ground, immediately fired a signal smoke into the sky. Faced with the sudden appearance of the sand ninjas, the 3 members of the Yu Guangxingai group, who had been on high alert, immediately drew their swords to fight. Bang! The shotgun rang out, and the sand ninja attacking Yu Guanghan hadn't even fully emerged from the ground before his head was blown apart. Rat-a-tat-tat! The M249 light machine gun that transformed from his left hand sprayed out dense tongues of fire, instantly turning the sand ninja next to Yu Guangxingai, who hadn't fully emerged from the ground, into a sieve. Bang! The sound of a Barrett rifle echoed through the forest, and 2.5 caliber bullets directly severed the hands that were holding Yu Guangxingai's legs. HMPH. You think you can take me for a fool just because I'm small? You sand ninjas have already used this trick on me, Yu Guanghan sneered. At this moment, Yu Guanghan's right hand had become a shotgun, his left hand a light machine gun, and his legs a Barrett rifle. His attacks were lightning fast. Although the electronic eyes couldn't detect enemies underground, they could observe every detail, and their reaction speed was unmatched by these sand ninjas. He was just a little slow. The moment the ground showed abnormalities, Yu Guanghan was already prepared. Damn it, 2 of their companions were dead and 1 crippled in the blink of an eye, and the remaining sand ninja cursed under their breath. Then they rushed towards Moonlight Han. This child was the one who attacked the stronghold, and the one who posed the greatest threat to them. Protect Han first. Seeing this, Moonlight Hoshino immediately shouted, taking the lead in blocking 2 of the sand ninja. Actually, even without Moonlight Hoshino's reminder, Moonlight Takashi and Moonlight Shino knew that Moonlight Han was the one they had to protect first. They could die, even their clan leader Moonlight Hoshino could die, but Moonlight Han absolutely could not die. Chapter 25 Moonlight Han's Purpose. Looking at the sand ninjas who wanted to kill him first but were temporarily blocked by Moonlight Hoshino and his companions, Moonlight Han smiled. He raised his left hand, now transformed into an M249, and aimed it at one of the sand ninjas entangled with the Moonlight Hoshino. No, the sand ninja, targeted by the light machine gun, instantly died, cold sweat soaking his back. He immediately tried to break free from Moonlight Hoshino and escape. Rat-a-tat-tat! Unfortunately, Moonlight Han gave him no chance. The sound of the light machine gun rang out, and 5 or 6 bullets pierced the sand ninja's chest in the blink of an eye, piercing his heart and drawing streams of bright red blood. Damn it, we have to kill him first. Seeing another comrade killed in the blink of an eye, the other sand ninjas' expressions changed drastically. One of them shouted, and the sand ninjas immediately fought off the attacks of Moonlight Hoshino and his companions, retreating a few steps despite injuries to create distance. Then, they simultaneously fired 7 or 8 kunai with igniting explosive tags attached to them at Moonlight Han from several directions. Protect Han. Seeing the sand ninja throw kunai with explosive tags attached at Moonlight Han, Moonlight Hoshino's eyes turned bloodshot. Without hesitation, he threw his longsword, deflecting one of the kunai. He then used his body flicker technique to rush towards Moonlight Han, wanting to shield him from the sand ninja's explosive tags, or at least prevent the explosion. Moonlight Suki and Moonlight Shino, while not as recklessly trying to save Moonlight Han as Moonlight Hoshino, and unable to rush over in time, also threw their longswords to deflect the kunai. At the same time, their eyes were fixed on the sand ninja, prepared to sacrifice their lives to stop them. All of this happened too suddenly. In a short time, in the blink of an eye, the situation had changed dramatically, and the sand ninja even had smiles of victory on their faces. Rat-a-tat-tat, the sound of light machine guns rang out. The sand ninja's kunai were fast, and Moonlight Hoshino was even faster, but neither was as fast as Moonlight Han's machine gun bullets. Under the precise capture of the electronic eye and the accurate calculation of the T-800's computer, with just an adjustment of the light machine gun's angle, the bullets fired were like bees with eyes, accurately striking the incoming kunai. The enormous impact of the bullets easily deflected all the incoming kunai off course. Boom! Explosions rang out one after another, but unfortunately, Moonlight Han was unharmed. These explosions only occurred within a dozen meters of him. Moonlight Hoshino and the other two all breathed a sigh of relief, and the sand ninjas' victorious smiles froze on their faces. This is the first time I've encountered this move, and it makes me very unhappy, Moonlight Han spoke coldly, his left and right hands transforming into Barrett rifles, aiming at the chests of two sand ninja. Bang bang! Before the sand ninja could dodge, the bullets had already pierced their chests. However, this time, Moonlight Han did not use conventional bullets, but rather abrasive bullets, also known as tumbling bullets. This is a bullet with extremely high lethality. Its cruelty even led some to mistake it for a dum-dum bullet. The trajectory of this bullet changes drastically upon entering the flesh due to friction. However, its accuracy is low. The Chiang Kai-shek rifle used this type of bullet. A 7.92 mm abrasive bullet leaves only a thumb-sized hole upon entering the body, but exits with a fist-sized gash, tearing out large amounts of flesh and blood. PFFT. PFFT, a .50 mm abrasive bullet shattered the chests of two sand ninja, spraying blood and flesh everywhere. Damn it, retreat! The remaining two sand ninja, seeing two more comrades killed, trembled with fear. Knowing the situation was hopeless, they dared not stay any longer. They dropped two smoke grenades and fled rapidly under the cover of thick gray smoke. Bang! Bang! Gunshots rang out. The smoke couldn't completely block the infrared vision of the electronic eye's .50 caliber bullets pierced through the thick smoke, shattering the chests of two fleeing sand ninjas and leaving two basketball-sized holes in their chests. Han, let's go back. The sand ninjas launched a signal smoke attack just now, and more sand ninjas will definitely come. Moreover, one of the sand ninjas who launched the ambush escaped, the one with a broken hand. Your intelligence has been leaked, which is extremely disadvantageous for us, said Moonlight Han. Feeling uneasy, although Moonlight Han had easily counterattacked and killed the sand ninjas who launched the ambush, he had just been on the verge of death. He really didn't want Moonlight Han to risk his life again. No, Moonlight Han shook his head, walking towards the sand ninja corpses to collect their headbands, and said coldly, I want to continue. Since my intelligence has been leaked, then kill all the sand ninjas here. No. This is too dangerous. We must retreat, Moonlight Hoshino said in a commanding tone. If it weren't for Yu Guanghan's stubbornness, he wouldn't have even agreed to Yu Guanghan's previous plan. Now that the danger has increased, he objected again. I must continue with the plan. I won't let these sand ninjas get away with this, Yu Guanghan said firmly, and then continued running towards the sand ninja stronghold in the valley. Han boy, Yu Guangzingai was furious. He finally understood why Yu Guanghan insisted on his plan. Yu Guanghan had only one goal, revenge against the sand ninjas. Clan leader, What should we do? Seeing Yu Guanghong continue towards the Sand Ninja stronghold, Yu Guanglong and Yu Guangxia were anxious and quickly asked Yu Guangxingai. What else can we do? Chase after him. Hearing this, Yu Guangxingai gritted his teeth and said angrily, and quickly chased after Yu Guanghan. Fortunately, Moonlight Han wasn't fast, not even as fast as an ordinary Jinan. He only covered 100 meters in the time it took to say a few words. Moonlight Hoshino and the other two caught up with him in just a few breaths, stopped him, and shouted angrily, "Come back with us. Your life isn't just yours, it's too late." Hearing this, Moonlight Han said coldly, "Actually, you should have trusted me, protect this reckless brat." Hearing this, Moonlight Hoshino frowned, immediately took out a kunai, and turned to prepare for battle. Moonlight Long and Moonlight Shino did the same, the three of them forming a triangle to protect Moonlight Han in the middle. "Lord Luo Fei, we have 7 Earth-released ninjas who are close to the 4 enemies charging down, inside the Sand Ninja stronghold in the valley." A Sand Ninja sensory ninja hiding behind a wooden house loudly reported the situation he sensed to Luo Fei. An elite Jonin hiding behind a nearby house. Hearing the sensory ninja's report, Luo Fei didn't speak, but simply nodded twice, continuing to have him constantly monitor the situation. The enemy, hiding in the shadows, clearly couldn't do anything to those concealed behind obstacles, which is why they sent 4 to attack, aiming to lure them out of their hiding place. Bang 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 bang, rat-a-tat-tat. Less than 10 seconds after the sensory ninja finished reporting, gunshots and exploding tags rang out from the mountain. Attack has begun. The Sand Ninja's sensory ninja continued to report, closely monitoring the battle. Lord Luo Fei, however, less than 30 seconds later, the sensory Sand Ninja reported sadly, 6 are dead, only 1 escaped. The attacker is among those 4, they're heading this way. All our ninjas who went underground are rushing there. Hearing the sensory ninja's report, Luo Fei remained silent, because he had no way to relay orders to the Sand Ninjas who had gone underground. "Sorry, I've been too busy these past 2 days." End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.